I'm hearing this story more and more. People are fed up. Bring that orange fella back. ASAP.
So, like many Americans, up until recently, I did not care about politics. Quite honestly, I didn't even vote until 2020. I've ended friendships over views that are just not okay. Why do I have a college degree and I make decent money and I'm living with family? I can't afford groceries. I can't afford my car payment. I can't afford anything. My parents have to help me, quite honestly, and I'm going to be 30 years old. I really want to know, this is my question for the people that think that this country is okay. What are you watching? What algorithm are you on to think that this country is okay? What job do you have? What do your bills look like? What is your income? Like, I really want to know. Because I am just lost. I am so confused.
Oh, look, I gotta get some. Look at that stuff. Just have it. We gotta get it.
My mom just got a bag of that, actually.
Good. Is it good stuff? Good?
She says it's the best.
Is that the best?
She says it's the
If
best.
it is, I'll be in Washington, D.C., hopefully in the Oval Office. I'll send for popcorn, okay?
Appreciate that.
Oh. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something...
Donald, you must move your head.
Shenzo, you died, and I'd never got the chance to say goodbye.
Donald, I don't say goodbye. You need to remember your training. Move your head. I cannot explain. I must go.
Wait, Shenzo, if I never see you again, then see you later, Space Cowboy.
But you will see me again. Because there's one last thing that I must do.
Months old, and if you want to really see something that's sad, take Thank you, Shenzo.
I'll guard the roads and I'll guard the skies.
Good morning. It is 5:30 a.m. if you're on the East Coast. It is 2:30 a.m. if you're up late with us on the West Coast. Donald Trump is on the verge of returning to the White House at this hour. The former president speaking to supporters earlier this morning, claiming victory, surrounded by family, telling supporters that they made history. The NBC Decision Desk has not yet called the presidency for Donald Trump, but realistically, we can say that Kamala Harris, the vice president, has no viable path to 270 in terms of electoral college votes at this point.
Okay. Are you excited? Can we make it until January 20th? Hey, it's your guy to the 21st century, Nate Houseman. And I got a lot of articles and stories that I've been saving that I've been wanting to get to. And geez, the invisible enemy just keeps ramping up these distractions. So we're going to talk about the LA fires. We're going to talk about the economy. We're going to talk about cryptocurrency. We're going to talk about AI. What else? We're going to talk about big tech censorship, or what's left of it. And we're going to talk about video games toward the ends. So if you find this content valuable, give this a like on whatever platform you're watching this on, either YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, or Kick. Subscribe either on Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, or Kick. And share this with your friends and loved ones. And let's open with this on Zero Hedge. It's a timeline as of 6 p.m. January 9th today. Inferno chaos. LA fire spreads to Hollywood Hills. 5,000 buildings destroyed. Over 180,000 people evacuated. So, LA fire summary. The Palisades, which are a very, as I understand it, a very high-class, high-end suburb of LA. Palisades fire burned 20,000 acres, 0% contained, while the Eaton fire has expanded to 10,000 acres, 0% contained. Newest fire, Sunset Fire in the Hollywood Hills area, another new fire in Woodland Hills. 5 dead that we know of, 180,000 people under evacuation orders, most destructive fire in LA history, tens of billions of dollars in damage. Yeah, because those are some expensive areas. AccuWeather estimates $135 billion to $150 billion in preliminary damage and economic losses. Over 5,000 homes, businesses, and other buildings have been damaged or destroyed. Elon Musk says SpaceX will provide free Starlink terminals to areas hit by LA wildfires and arson fears. As far as SpaceX, yeah, because the supposed mayor of Los Angeles said, hey, go to a URL. And how many people actually have internet access in this time of evacuation and refuge and destruction? So the map, there's looks like 4 major fires in the area. There's the Palisades, there's Hearst, there's Eaton. I've never been to LA. I don't really know where the hills are. The Hollywood Hills with the big Hollywood sign. I've seen memes of the Hollywood sign burning up. I don't know if that's actually happening or if that's AI. But let's go through a few of these tweets. We'll go through a few stories and we'll go through more tweets. Hustle Bitch on Twitter says, hundreds of looters invade neighborhood. Cars pull up, doors open, and groups of men running up our street, going up to the doors of these houses. There were 100 people come up on scooters and were trying to get into all houses. So, looters. Drifanzer Meme says, at this point, the city of Los Angeles needs to fire everyone and start over because their police chief, their fire chief, I don't know if they're LGBT, but they are diversity hires. They are DEI hires. Bill Malugan says, appears an evacuation warning was just accidentally sent out to all of Los Angeles County. Alex Michelson saying he's hearing the same. Not helpful. So I don't know if they intend to do that or if that's a goof or if it really is that bad. The latest AccuWeather estimate for total damage. Okay, we read that already. Bill Waddle says AccuWeather has increased, staggering $135 billion to $150 billion. That's billion with a B. Adam Carolla, who is one of the precious few based celebrities in LA, says Mayor Karen Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom want to be fired. So we're going to talk about a lot. We're going to go over a few things here. If you want to help, I recommend go to givesendgo.com. See that? Give, Send, Go. Everyone is mad at GoFundMe ever since the Canadian trucker protests when GoFundMe blocked a lot of the charitable donations. So Give, Send, Go is the way to go. They're a faith-based company. They're a crowdfunding company. So they have wildfire relief and they also have a hurricane relief fund because a lot of people from Hurricane Helene and the Florida hurricane are still hurting really bad. So fine, you can go ahead and click on these links and whoever you think needs your money most, donate to who you feel moved to. And if you feel moved to help me out financially, I've got a few ways you can do that. One is you can join my locals page. I try to post exclusive content on locals. So if you subscribe $5 a month, you'll have access to that and you'll have access to my community. And let's just get going. From Breitbart, Gavin Newsom thanks LA Mayor Karen Bass away from Africa because, she was at the inauguration of the new president of Ghana. And Gavin Newsom thanks LA Mayor Karen Bass away in Africa for help by phone during fire. This is from yesterday. California's supposed governor, Gavin Newsom, used an emergency press conference Tuesday to thank LA supposed Mayor Karen Bass for her leadership in absentia during the wildfire crisis now enveloping the state after she phoned it in from Ghana, Africa. The deadly infernos have burned through 5,400 acres and left at least 2 people dead. That's of yesterday. We know it's up to 5 people now. And I don't know if I want to play this video because I have a low tolerance for cringe, but as Breitbart reported, Bass spent Tuesday in Africa as part of a taxpayer-funded delegation attending the inauguration of John Dramani Mahama as Ghana's president. The Democrat was there as her city battled wildfires and tens of thousands of residents fled for their lives. CNS News reports Shalonda DeYoung, the director of the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, headed the delegation to Accra, Ghana's capital. So it also consisted of Virginia E. Palmer, the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, and Francis Z. Brown, special assistant to the president and the National Security Council's senior director for African Affairs alongside Bass. So now Trump predicted this problem months and even years ago. I mean, it's been an ongoing problem in California for decades, and we're gonna why in the tweets. But Trump says Governor Gavin Newsom chose to save an endangered fish instead of sending water to Southern California to fight apocalyptic wildfires. The headline says extinct fish, but I don't know about that. President-elect Donald Trump blamed California's Gavin Newsom for the apocalyptic wildfires ravaging the Pacific Palisades in Los Angeles, claiming he chose to save an endangered tiny fish species instead of sending water to Southern California. Trump raged that Democratic governor blocked an order that would have diverted more water from the much wetter north to the state's parched regions, including the areas that are currently burning in a virtually apocalyptic way. He wanted to protect an essentially worthless fish called a smelt, but didn't care about the people of California, the incoming president ranted in his Truth Social platform. Now the ultimate pricing is being paid. I will demand that this incompetent governor allow beautiful, clean, fresh water to flow into California. He is to blame for this. Trump has long supported diverting supply from California's main water hub, the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta, to farmers who have struggled with repeated droughts. But his plans face resistance from environmental groups that argued they would disastrously hurt the population of Delta smelt, small fish that were once crucial to California's ecosystem, but have since been rendered effectively extinct. So, what good did that do? Trump first promised to redirect California's northern runoff south to benefit farmers during his first presidential bid in 2016, and made good on his promise in 2020 with a federal memorandum that redirected millions of gallons of water he said was otherwise needlessly flushed into the ocean, according to Courthouse News Service. So, what can the president do with a state government? Like, what authority does the president have the state government does with their water supply? Unless the water comes from another state and it's a matter of interstate commerce, I question what he can do. But the real issue is election fortification, because, I watched Razorfist's short video on this, and he says Republicans in California just need to leave and vote with their feet. I mean, don't feel sorry for the conservatives in California who suffer under this Democrat-captured state. I like Razorfist, but I question. I want to know what's the housing market in different states where. Well, I've got to look that up, but housing market's bad everywhere, so it's not so easy. And a lot of houses are mortgages are underwater. So okay. The real issue, ever since really the formation of the United States corporation, has been election fraud. How do we get election fortification? Like, how do we make sure that the people we elect really are elected and are actually doing what we say they are? We want them, what we tell them. Okay, we went over that. Now, this is interesting. Vital LA firefighting equipment was headed to Ukraine, reports show, as Americans now caught in raging inferno. This is from yesterday. As of Wednesday afternoon, the fast-moving, wind-driven fires sweeping through Los Angeles area are still 0% contained, resulting in evacuations for, as of then, 80,000 residents. Hundreds of thousands of residential and commercial locations have been left without power in the LA area, as the natural disaster has become so large in proportion that it has captured the nation's attention. Many have been naturally focused on thoughts and prayers for heroic LA and California firefighters and their hoped for ability to push back the raging inferno. But several local headlines from prior years make clear that area firefighters could have had more resources to draw from if significant emergency response supplies and items weren't sent to Zelensky. Where do we hear this before? Sorry, North Carolina. Sorry, hurricane victims. FEMA can only give you $600 or $700 because we gave a bunch of other money to Ukraine, to a different country. I mean, my heart breaks for Ukraine, but Russia's not their real enemy. The real enemy is the public government that our supposed government installed. Look up Victoria Nuland. Look up Obama. Look up what happened in 2014 in Ukraine. So really what we have is an international criminal syndicate just screwing over people left and right. LA fire crews are sending some of their extra equipment to firefighters in Ukraine. The local March 2022 story reads, the plane carrying that much-needed surplus equipment, such as hoses, nozzles, turnouts, helmets, body armor, and other personal protective gear, is expected to take off Friday. This began in the opening months of the Russian invasion and appears to have continued at various times over at least a couple years, with large expensive items like fire trucks have been shipped overseas as well. Putting Ukraine first is the Biden bad foreign policy idea that keeps on giving, and taking away from American citizens caught in the throes of emergency and disaster. While supporters of such programs argue that this was all surplus and retired extra equipment, we are quite sure that in these current dire circumstances surrounding Los Angeles, that any such surplus could have been used and is still badly needed. President-elect Trump himself has highlighted the ongoing shortages being experienced among emergency crews in the area. No water in the fire hydrants, no money in the FEMA. This is what Joe Biden is leaving me. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, this is another poison pill, which I went through at length on Tuesday. I mean, Democrats are, we see the plan now. Like, they couldn't fortify this election. They couldn't assassinate Trump. They couldn't stop certification. They didn't want to stop the certification, or else they wouldn't have we are playing by the rules talking point. What they're going to do is they're going to try to make Trump's second term impossible to deal with. So what need to happen is we need to invalidate and vitiate all of the corruption and illegitimate, departments that without exposing the United States corporation. Well, I've gathered some X posts or tweets to go through, because there's a lot more that meets the eye in Los Angeles. I mean, people, YouTube and Rumble channels that talk about the rotten pop culture, like Doomcock and Nerdrotic and Geeks and Gamers and Valiant Renegade and WW Pro, they've been roasting the entertainment industry. Nerdrotic especially, Gary Beekler, the guy on that channel, he's been excoriating Hollywood and their corruption and their bloat and their incompetence over the last couple of years. There's been, I think, an actor strike. There's been a writer strike. There's an animator strike. And Hollywood is just dying. And a lot of Americans, I think, are not going to shed a tear because they have not been giving us good stuff. So we're going to talk about Satanic LA because there's a lot of creepy stuff and PDF file stuff going in Hollywood. That's been being exposed lately. But let's talk about the LA fires on tweets. Razorfist points out, in California, leftism isn't political. It is personal. clannish, inexorably attached to identity. No political consequence is severe enough to supersede such programming. Only personal consequences can break that spell. And this tragedy in LA is spawning them by the thousands. So yeah. Molly here says people need to hit rock bottom. In American politics, the term rock bottom is often used to describe political parties during crises. However, for Democrats, reaching rock bottom seems elusive. Media coverage. Democrats benefit from positive media coverage that downplays their failures. Party values. Loyal Democratic voters share values on healthcare, climate change, and social justice. Political strategy. Democrats adapt policies and rhetoric to cultural trends, ensuring relevance and preventing setbacks. The Democratic Party has established a system that effectively reduces the impact of what could be perceived as rock bottom. So let's listen to what this gal has to say. When you talk about rock bottom, and Doomcock has mentioned this, rock bottom is when an alcoholic or a drug addict gets the lowest point they can get to in their lives and in their this situation, and that only then can they take the steps needed to change, to get better. They have to hit rock bottom before they can come to God, come to Jesus, and get their act together. Now, so what's rock bottom for the Democrats? And this gal's wondering what is rock bottom. I'm not sure there's such a thing, because I really do think being a leftist at this point, I mean, being a liberal is fine. Elon's a liberal. RFK is a liberal. There are plenty of well-meaning, genuine liberals who care about science, arts, culture, the rights of the disadvantaged. All the genuine liberals are in MAGA now, along with the real conservatives. I've said it before. Democrats and leftists, they probably have a genuine personality disorder or psychological or neurological disorder. I mean, that prevents them from really connecting with other people in a way besides manipulation or drama and crisis supply, what have you. Because there's, Q predicted that maybe 5 to 4, 5, 6% are lost forever. Everyone else is going to come around to MAGA, and this might be necessary. Now, Cece on Twitter points to something that's happening in Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis is a leader. He has the ability to prepare and respond to events that endanger Floridians. Newsom would rather protect fish than protect people that elected him to serve. So this is how Florida rolls for hurricane preparedness. DeSantis has literal cities of linemen ready to restore power as soon as Hurricane Helene passes. So this is the difference between a Republican and a Democrat governor. Republicans have their own issues. But Republicans are undergoing a populist revolt within them and booting out all the frauds and criminals, a la George W. Bush and John McCain and Mitch McConnell. Real conservatives and real populists are purging the Republican Party of that nonsense. Democrats, I wish genuine liberals would purge Democrats of their phonies and their frauds and their crooks. But something tells me the Democrats have always been a criminal organization in disguise as a political party. So, fine. Oh yeah, we read about this in the New York Post article. Donald Trump tweets on Truth Social: Governor Gavin Newsom should immediately go to Northern California and open up the water main and let the water flow into his dry, starving, burning state instead of having it go to the Pacific Ocean. It had to be done right now. No more excuses from this incompetent governor. It's already far too late. Kind of cool. Great. He's got a clip of the Joe Rogan podcast. Joe Rogan and Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson, another one of the precious few based Hollywood celebrities. Joe Rogan and Mel Gibson blast California Governor Newsom for failing to prepare Los Angeles for devastating fires. So much quotes from the video. Let's watch the video. Platitudes. Why do we pay taxes at all? Didn't Ronald Reagan say liberty is never more than one generation away from extinction? We're seeing that in California. That's why we have a federalist system in the U.S., so where states have their own individual governments and any corruption is contained within one state. If corruption gets infects the federal government, like it has, at least the states are a refuge from that. I mean, I read a book years ago when the Obamacare controversy was going through, and that was it was illegally foisted upon the American people, called about nullification. States actually have the ability to nullify unconstitutional laws. We don't only need the Supreme Court to declare an unconstitutional law unconstitutional. States have that authority because they're the bodies that ratify the Constitution early on. So within the borders of a state, if the state government thinks, a federal law is bogus, they don't have to go along. And we see that at the state level too. If there's corruption in the state level government, counties, we see this with a lot of sheriffs. They refuse to enforce unconstitutional laws. Police, I've got questions about the police departments in America, but sheriffs mostly are pretty ethical and fair. I don't know about I've heard bad things about the sheriffs in my own county recently, but in LA County, those sheriffs are really crooked. If you ever see the LA Sheriff LA County Sheriff badge, the little points of the star have that PEDO triangle symbol. Yeah, look it up. Continuing, Jack Posobiec says, President Trump should issue a ban on private equity like BlackRock or foreign entities buying properties in disaster areas like California or East Tennessee or Maui. Yeah, remember the Maui fires and how The Rock and Oprah said, "Hey, let's donate, ask for donations." Why couldn't they give money themselves? And didn't a whole lot of rich corporate investors buy up the properties after the people were roasted? Oh. Here's something I retweeted. Insurance giants abandoned California homeowners months before a devastating Palisades fire. And insurance is really just crowdfunding with extra steps. I've got issues with the insurance industry. I mean, I paid my health insurance this month. I did my re-up, but I'm wondering why I should bother, because other than my Tourette's and ADHD meds, I don't get much use out of it. And we've seen during the United Healthcare Insurance CEO assassination drama, a lot of insurance companies just don't qualify procedures and vital treatment. I mean, ever since the early 90s when Bill Clinton and Hillary implemented their bureaucracy, administrative jobs in the healthcare industry have exploded. I've seen a chart. You can Google it, or you can look it up on research.org. But administrative costs have exploded since the early 90s, and regular actual doctors and nurses and therapists, that job growth has just been very steady. Bureaucracy is what's killing Americans, wallets when it comes to healthcare. And you got insurance saying, just adding another layer of Byzantine nonsense. Amina says, 8 years after California voters approved a $7.5 billion water bond to construct water source facilities, not one project has reached completion. Meanwhile, untold millions of gallons of fresh snowmelt and rain continue to flow wastefully into the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so the people of California wanted to save the fish. They voted for better water infrastructure, and the government just said, fuck you. Do not tell me Gavin Newsom was elected fair and square, that Karen Bass was elected fair and square. I saw a video. Elon retweeted it. I forget who originally posted it, but there's a video of this one gentleman explaining that Karen Bass in the 1970s went on like 15 or 16 trips to Cuba under Castro. She was a member of this group called the Venceremos. They were a communist sect. They were a communist task force dedicated to recruiting young, impressionable, stupid people to join the Communist Party. And they were also allied with the communist terrorists who bombed the U.S. Capitol in 1983. Roddick commented on that, saying the bombers of the U.S. Capitol, they were pardoned by Bill Clinton. So it's all one big criminal organization. I mean, communists are not a genuine political party any more than Democrats. They're a criminal organization in disguise. Their real purpose isn't workers' rights or liberation. It's power and world domination. Brian Cates, who I love reading on Twitter, is talking about the four-family system. I know two of the four families were Gavin Newsom's family and Nancy Pelosi's family. The four-family system of control had a good run, but it's over now. Even the four-family system of control is not going to save Gavin Newsom from the optics of this. Whining about Trump and blaming the locals while he's literally standing in front of a wall of flame. It's over. He's done. Finished. Kaput. Good freaking riddance. He'll be gone in a week. So the only problem California has, if they recall him, what's to stop them from installing another Democrat? The Brunson case cannot come soon enough. Oh, Jack Poso mentions this, and we saw clips of it. Literally, the entire plot of the movie Chinatown from 1974 is about California water wars and how corrupt bureaucrats and predatory elites intentionally dumped water into the ocean to create an artificial drought and devalue land so they could buy it up. Okay. Good point. Mr. Guns and Gear is pointing out, according to police scanners, there's been pretty wide looting across the LA metro area. Sully says, in Ohio, a train derailed and coincidentally exploded tons of vinyl chloride into the drinking water. Remember that? In Maui, fire broke out and people were coincidentally denied water by officials. In North Carolina, a mountain flooded and people were coincidentally washed off their prime real estate. In California, fire broke out in Los Angeles and coincidentally, all the water has been diverted. The last 4 years have been a series of unfortunate coincidences. They've been a series of disasters, apparently concocted to drive people off their land. You'll own nothing and be happy. Joe Rambo says, I would bet 117 million bucks this is intentional messaging. This clip alone makes me believe that Newscomb is acting in the show, and this is bad acting. The Patriots might have to talk about a movie. We are watching a show meant to wake up the people. Maybe Newsom is part of it. Maybe he's so over the top evil that he's a secret white hat. I've had the thought about about what's his name? That one prosecutor. Maybe Newsom's part of that. Okay. Controlled, maybe. Good, hard to believe, but possible. Capitulated, also possibly real. But who was filming this? How did she get so close? Why over dramatic? Exposure, operation, narrative control would be my guess. What do you see? So he's responding to a video by Nick Sortor. Okay, that's enough. That was so cringe. So Joe Rambo's saying, hey, is this an act meant to wake people up because it's so over the top? I mean, melodrama, there's a long tradition of melodrama in American entertainment. Now, that latest question, why is there no water in the hydrants? Well, we talked about the government giving the middle finger to voters. Liz Crokin says, watch the water. Jewish billionaire couple Stuart and Linda Resnick own the majority of California's water. They also own Fiji water brands. The pieces are coming together. So this video is 8 minutes long. We'll just let's do the intro. Okay, we're gonna listen to this. We're gonna watch this whole video. That sounds a lot like Jekyll Island, Federal Reserve. Pausing this, how much? How does your company? How does your business really get successful? I mean, really, you could have a great product, you could have a great service, but unless you have the backing of unless you have the support of some other powerful people, probably in the government, that's how you get ahead in life. So why the hell do we pay taxes? Tom Vilsack, former governor of my state, Democrat. Yeah. Okay, I'm glad we watched the whole video. It was worth the 8 minutes. All right, continuing. Okay, we watched this video, but what does Colin Ruggs say about it? California leadership is getting ripped for their failure to protect Californians from the devastating fires. Today, Newsom called out by a furious resident for lying about being on a call with President Biden. Yesterday, LA Mayor Karen Bass gets called out by a reporter for refusing to take the fire threat seriously. We'll have to see it. So yeah, I think this is while she was still in Africa. And I lost my place. Joe Lang. Here is another part of the whole wildfire stuff. This has been a scam for many years. Q drop, according to Q, 2467, November 10th, 2018. Do you believe in coincidences? He's quoting Q. How many coincidences before it becomes mathematically impossible? Expand your thinking. Amount of fires in California in the past 12 months. Amount of fires in California past 10 years. Date Fed funding cut off from California as a result of violations of sanctuary state city. California budget cuts past 12 months, RE fire and prevention. Reduce, eliminate dry brush cleanup. Reduce, eliminate tree line cleanup. Reduce, eliminate fire break installations. Reduce, eliminate chopper flyovers to target high exposure areas. Reduce, eliminate population areas, exposure, and fire break safety management. Reduce, eliminate use of inmates, correction facilities for highway cleanup and dry brush removal. What is the primary purpose of declaring a state of emergency? What determines the size of the Fed payment to a state that is declared a state of emergency? What is the current debt of California? The more you know. So it's about money. California, even though it's the 5th largest economy in the world, has a stupid amount of debt, just like the federal government. I mean, so what Q is suggesting, and Joe Lang is retweeting, California lets these fires happen in order to get FEMA money, in order to get federal money to pay their bills. There are many angles to the story, and they're all coming together in one big feast of red pills for the American public. So thank goodness for a free speech platform like Twitter. Yeah, Jew for Peace is commenting on Joe Lang here, saying QDROP1762, July 30th, 2018. What happens when California is in serious debt and lost priority aid from the federal government due to sanctuary status, letting in illegal immigrants? Light fires. Declare a state of emergency and require requisition billions from the Fed. Why do POTUS reject the past? Sick people. Boom. I mentioned this. LA Mayor Karen Bass tells residents that if they need help or shelter, it can be found at URL. Perfect. She just says URL. I think she just read the teleprompter literally. Now, did you hear about? Did I mention State Farm canceled a lot of people's fire insurance in California, in LA? Laura Powell has the reason why. I mean, insurance is bureaucratic enough. When you get the government involved, it's like, is it even worth having that sort of losses? Last year, State Farm canceled 1,600 policies in Pacific Palisades because the state would not allow them to raise premiums enough to cover their exposure. So yeah, if wildfires are such a big deal, then insurance companies are going to raise their rates in order to cover that. But the state government wouldn't let them. The affected homeowners would then likely have to rely on the state-run FAIR Plan, an expensive last resort insurance program. But the FAIR Plan reportedly only had a surplus of $200 million as of April 2024, and was likely to become insolvent if a catastrophic event occurred. Governor Newsom goes around posturing about politics instead of trying to solve urgent problems. Our state government takes billions of dollars from hardworking Californians and provides barely anything in return. An unconscionable failure. So we're going to see a few more tweets and question whether it really is incompetence or if it's malice. Every time I click on one of these tweets to read the whole thing, the website just kicks me back up at the top and I have to scroll down again. DC Drano says, we now have video evidence of criminal arsonists lighting fires all over LA. So why is Bernie Sanders, the socialist from Vermont, why is Bernie Sanders still blaming climate change for these fires? Wake up, y'all. It's not the weather. It's Democrat bill reform. Yeah, so the Democrat-run government is letting inmates out of the prisons. They did this during COVID, and they just said, hey, fuck it. So yeah, videos of people lighting fires. Now this is interesting. Julian Drum posts, in January 2024, PG&E was found responsible for the 2021 California wildfires due to PG&E power lines. This must be a power company, utility company. In May 2024, Janice Canones left PG&E to become CEO of the LA Department of Water and Power. She's the highest paid city official, $750,000 salary. LA Mayor Karen Bass recommended her. Do the math. Derek Evans says, think the fires are bad? When will people who've lost everything find out FEMA ran out of money because they literally gave it to illegals? And this here is a big part. This here is a big thing. DC Drano. How it started. LA fires over 100 firefighters for not taking the COVID shot. How it's going. LA says they don't have enough firemen to stop city destroying blaze. Big pharma execs are counting their billions made from the vax, while 1,000 California homes burned down. So, and John Matlin, this is the last post in this file here, which makes me wonder if this whole thing is another form of malice and not just incompetence. John Matlin says, I wonder how globalists will usher in 50-minute cities. Have you heard about those? Cities where you're just, everything you supposedly need is within 15 minutes, but it's really a system to keep you in the virtual prison. John Matlin asks, I wonder how globalists will usher in 50-minute cities or redraw the entire thing from the foot up when the infrastructure doesn't match the needs for the project. I wonder if it's by doing the following. Decimating the FD, the fire department, with DEI policies, giving away their equipment to Ukraine, making sure to keep as much flammable foliage around as possible, refusing projects that would bring water to these areas to save a fish. What do you think? All of the above? Added to the pile of things to talk about. Now, Satanic LA. This section's a little shorter, but you gotta wonder if there's a silver lining to all this. We've talked about pedowood, we've talked about creeps in Hollywood, all the CP, all the child rapists. I can't say the actual word on YouTube, but I get more views on Rumble anyway, so. Johnny Midnight posts, firefighters caught arguing about prioritizing the historic Getty Museum over occupied homes in Los Angeles, California. Rumors of child trafficking and tunnels beneath the museum have circulated for years. So historic building. The Bunny Museum in Altadena, California has burned to the ground. That's part of the Eaton fire. The Bunny Museum. You ever wonder why the mascot for Playboy magazine was a bunny? You ever wonder where the phrase "follow the white rabbit" comes from? I learned this recently. Lewis Carroll, who wrote Alice in Wonderland, I'm not sure this is true. I hope it's just a rumor, but they're saying he was a PDF file, and the white rabbit is a euphemism for adrenochrome. So there's a bunny museum in Altadena, California, which looks like a suburb of LA, and it's burned to the ground. You gotta wonder if maybe there's a mix of white hats and cabal members involved in this. I've talked about certain white hats playing a role in walking a tightrope, who I think are white hats, who I suspect are white hats, like Mike Johnson and Mike Pence and Xi Jinping. I wonder if there's some undercover white hats among these creeps. Paul Assassin posts, so all the Epstein Diddy secrets might be exposed with Trump getting into office, and just so happens that this Getty Museum burns down right before the inauguration after Ally Carter, back in October, predicted LA would burn to destroy evidence. I'm sure this is just a coincidence. And someone mentioned there was a fire in like 2016, 2017, right after Trump's first election. So are they burning evidence? And Polish Assassin is responding to Jules. Says, say goodbye to the Getty Museum. If you know, you know. Prison to traffic children and only God knows what else. Let the evil go up in flames. Mostly posts about the Getty Museum and how it's probably the hub of a lot of evil crap going on in Hollywood. This whole area, massive tunnel system, massive child trafficking operation. What's under the Getty Museum in Los Angeles? Horror, child sacrifice, satanic rituals. Playboy Mansion, Getty Museum, connect the dots, connect the tunnels, Getty Museum, a fortress for Satanism. And they got a bunch of And didn't they say that P. Diddy had tunnels out of his mansion in LA? Ooh, there's even a Q post about this. Let's read this. "34 satanic sites." I don't know where this comes from, but the Ark of Baal in Syria, the Augusta, Germany castle in Brunswick, Germany, the Biltmore Hotel. I've heard about that. Buckingham Palace. That wouldn't surprise me, knowing what we've covered about the royal family. CERN. Looks like it's been crossed off. Bohemian Grove. You ever hear about that one? Comet, Ping Pong, and Pizza. Oh, that's at the heart of the whole Pizzagate, story involving John Podesta. Denver International Airport. Jeez. Epstein Island. Georgia Guidestones. They've been taken care of. Hoover Dam. That's news to me. The Louvre in Paris. Bank of England, Bank of England. I can barely read that, but they've been crossed off. The London Bridge Lake in Arizona, Northern Castle, Sealy's Castle in North Carolina, Notre Dame Castle in Paris. Ooh, that's significant. Didn't it catch fire years ago? And wasn't Trump at the reopening a month ago? The Opera House in Palermo, Italy. I can't read that. Pentagon? Playboy Mansion. I always wondered. I would hear stories on VH1 on celebrities saying, "Oh, if only we could tell the stories about what happened in the grotto at those Playboy Mansion parties." You want to bet Hef was a honeypot? He brought in women to have affairs with married celebrities, and get blackmail. Statue of Liberty. Yeah, Julie Green talked about that the other day. She got a prophecy from God saying that statue was a lie. Okay, Stonehenge. This is cross off, can't read that. The Getty Museum. That's number 25. Number 25, gone. Next. Something else is crossed off. Looks like the Vatican. Three Gorges Dam in China. Are they saying like Three Gorges Dam is going to break? They've been predicting that for years. U.S. Capitol Building. Les Wexner. I can't read what the name of that home is, but Lex Wexner, isn't he like the CEO or founder of Victoria's Secret? Washington Monument. That's another false idol. The White House. Tyler Perry Studios in Georgia, and Windsor Tower in Madrid. So, and Q says, follow up the last post. Return to comments, R.E. Pelosi and John M. Some of us refuse to say his last name for a reason. Talking about John McCain. This all has meaning. Everything stated. Big picture stuff. Few positions allow for this direct knowledge. Proof to begin 11.3. People wonder if that was Election Day 2020, or if there's some other meaning behind 11.3. We all sincerely appreciate the work you do. Keep up the good fight. The flow of information is vital. God bless. Yeah, the whole point of the of Q and the plan wasn't simply, hey, get good guys are going to take care of the bad guys. Regular people don't have to do anything. I mean, the White Hats are going to take care of certain things. But the whole point of Q was to wake up the people so that we can take power ourselves. This is an information war. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So we need to wake up the blind so we can actually take care of the one-eyed man. Part of this other Q post. Review Barack Obama's financial disclosure where he submitted pre-election campaign. What is the annual salary of a sitting U.S. president? What homes were just purchased by Barack Obama? How much did it cost? How much did it reconcile? What is the net worth of Pelosi? Well, we know about her insider trading. How does it reconcile? What is the John M. Institute? Notice any patterns relating to the CF? I'm not sure what that is. Where did John M. obtain his surgery? Why is that relevant? What surgery did he supposedly have? How many days until he was back in Congress and sitting in the OSCOM? What is John M.'s net worth? How does it reconcile? What is MW's net worth? How does it reconcile? You can play this game with most D's and many R's. What does Swamp refer to? What does money buy? Alice in Wonderland. That reference again. Val Thor says, Getty Villa is officially being staged out. Yes, this is one of the 34 satanic structures in the world. Okay. Lala Mocha says, California, the most satanic state in America, is burning to hell. Listen to this man. He makes perfect sense. This is a shit state, and I'm so very sorry the innocent people are suffering from this demolition and kind of disaster. My heart is with all my LA family and friends. Take a good listen. So we're going to take a listen. We're going to listen to the whole thing. By the way, I think I saw this gentleman in a video clip of Don Jr. visiting Greenland. I think this gentleman's from Greenland. That's why that's what his accent is. So he's got a stake in this as well. He's putting into words exactly what I'm thinking. This has been this is terrible, but this is necessary. You know, Julia Green, in a lot of her prophecies, God tells her there's shakings happening that are necessary to get people to wake up and call this evil down through prayer. Let's see how many more posts I have in this. Mainly I'm going to start following this guy right now. StopWorldControl.com. David J. Sorensen is the gentleman's name. Now here's something. We talked about Liz Crokin and the Resnick couple earlier. But she also has this to say about the Resnicks. When Diddy's manager Lou Taylor orchestrated the unconstitutional conservatorship and trafficking of Britney Spears, she was held against her will at the Stuart and Linda Resnick's neuropsychiatric hospital in UCLA. This billionaire couple also stole the California taxpayers' water to hoard it from the people. What a lovely couple. So yeah. So they're deep, they're in waist, shoulder, whatever, deep in the abuse of Hollywood starlets that we know of. All right. That was long. That was lengthy, but that was worth it. We got so many more tabs to go through. We're definitely gonna spend time on the economic stories here because they're important. But let's see, let's look at the chats. All right. If you want to support this program, if you find this content valuable, I got a bunch of affiliate links. And one of those links is to Blackout Coffee. I wear their hat. I buy their coffee. I really like dark roast. You know, the darker the better. And they're a nice treat to have every once a month, whatever other than the store brand coffee that you get from like Target or your local grocery store or Walmart. Blackout Coffee is a real, genuine patriot company. You may have heard of Black Rifle. They're a bunch of phonies. They're a bunch of rhinos. Blackout Coffee is the way to go. They got a whole bunch of products. They have cocoa and tea. They support the troops. They got gear like shirts, hoodies, hats, tumblers, coffee mugs, and you can even join their clubs. So if you click on the link and use my discount code, you'll treat yourself to something great to get you moving in the morning. I especially value coffee because I got ADHD and I really can't accomplish anything unless I get my caffeine fix. It jumpstarts my dopamine and so on. So great company. I love them, and you'll love them too. Use the discount code in the description. And if you're watching on Twitch or Kick, click on the link in my bio to go to my resources page and click the link there. Now, on to the next segment. I'm going to move this over to the free speech portion of the stream. We're going to talk about some economic news that I've been having the back burner, but is super, super, super important. This story from Bitcoin.com. If my browser will cooperate. Shut it down. AI exposes hidden pork in Congress's controversial spending package. Oh, what's this? This was probably during the continuing resolution fight in Congress and the whole debt ceiling. But AI is going to. This is one good thing about AI. According to reports, the U.S. government is teetering on the brink of yet another shutdown, with the funding deadline looming large on December 20th, 2024. Okay, that's come and gone. But the proposed funding bill has stirred up quite the controversy, packed as it is with what many call pork. The bill also sneakily tucks in a $75,000 salary bump for congressional members. So this resolution was a win for the American people because we actually got to see what was in the bill, and we made our voices heard, and Congress was forced to do what we say under public pressure. That's why it's so important to have information. I mean, we can resist corrupt governments with weapons. Like I carry a Glock, I carry pepper spray, and I got a collection of knives. But information is even more important. Intelligence is more important. I'm going to say something you may not like. I think the Fourth Amendment is more important than the Second Amendment. The Fourth Amendment is our right to privacy. The Fourth Amendment is our right now to be searched without a warrant. Being able to keep secrets is a method of self-defense. Just as much or more important than having weapons. Continuing, the folks in Washington are at it again. The American public is not exactly thrilled with U.S. Congress members as they dance on the edge of yet another government shutdown. Without a new funding plan, okay, we're going to keep going here. We need to get to the point. Democrats claim Republicans are throwing shade on the bill because, allegedly, they're not in it for the American people. But despite all the so-called heartfelt speeches from the left, they're not tackling the elephant in the room. The special interest goodies and pork barrel project stuff into this bill. For example, it's got plans for a shiny new football stadium in D.C., the revival of the Global Engagement Center, policy actions for pandemic preparedness and response, and, oh yeah, a sweet $70,000 pay raise for Congress. This bill is like a treasure chest of spending and funding with at least 12 new biolabs, a whopping $1.4 billion for international security cooperation programs, and a sneaky clause allowing Congress members to dodge Obamacare. It also earmarks $2.9 billion to champion democratic governance, $315 million for the National Endowment for Democracy, splashes out $5.6 billion on Virginia-class submarines. Sure, there's some cash for hurricane relief, but a lot of the folks argue that much of it is just plain wasteful spending. Plus, with this bill being so massive, a ton of Americans are turning into artificial intelligence to dissect it piece by piece. Grok, which is the only AI I trust right now because it's under Twitter, Grok says a normal human would need 7 8-hour days to read and understand the 1,500-plus page spending bill. On X, user wrote this week. Thanks to AI, it's now impossible to hide pork in a bill, explained Preston Byrne. You can analyze it and extract the worst parts of any 1,500-page law, prep a pressure campaign, and launch it in minutes, not weeks. On top of that, there's a whole bunch of folks who are not exactly jumping for joy over Speaker Mike Johnson pushing this bill through. I'd hope to see Speaker Johnson grow a spine, but this bill is full of pork, and he is a weak man, the Kentucky Senator Rand Paul remarked. That will continue to grow. Ultimately, the dollar will fail. Democrats are clueless, and big government Republicans are complicit. A sad day for America. So the point of this article is we can use AI to analyze bills quickly within minutes and find the waste. I want to get to this article, but first I want to talk about cash coffers feeding market will quickly dry once Doge kicks. So this is an article by AJ Monty Edge. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy say Doge will cut $500 billion in government spending annually. While the details behind this newly created Department of Government Efficiency, aka Doge, are still relatively unknown, one thing is clear. The cuts in government spending will be massive. The dynamic duo plan to cut $500 billion from federal expenditures, focusing on tax dollars that are unauthorized by Congress and being used in ways never intended by Congress. Once they have reached their initial target, they'll focus on plans that will streamline excessive government spending, such as the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which receives $535 million a year, Planned Parenthood, which receives almost $300 million a year, and international organizations that receive $1.5 billion in grants per year, to name a few. The above-mentioned items are relatively small compared to many other unauthorized expenditures. The federal government spent about $516 billion on programs whose congressional authorization has expired, and the list goes on, and it talks about opioid treatment, State Department and Foreign Affairs programs, housing assistance, Justice Department, Education Department, NASA, healthcare, student loan programs, international security programs, a lot of stuff here, a lot of bullet points. Once these cuts are implemented, the cash drain for the system will eventually impact the broad-based markets. Companies like Moderna, FedEx Corporation, CVS, and Honeywell International are among those that will most likely be affected by funding cuts, as well as industries ranging from aerospace equipment and defense manufacturing to pharmaceuticals and health plan providers. Because you see, a lot of corporations that are publicly traded on the stock market, they're government contractors. They get money from the government to do whatever. And how much you want to bet that money printed by the Federal Reserve, which is really the puppet master behind both government and the corporations, they just give money to corporations by way of the commercial and investment banks to invest on Wall Street. Below is a monthly candle chart of Honeywell International Incorporated. Honeywell is a big government contractor, and the author pitches his premium plan. But I want to talk about that because how much you want to bet the Resnicks in California with their Fiji water? How much you want to bet they're getting, sweet? We already learned they get sweetheart deals from the government, from state senators and U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein. I think she died a few months ago or last year, but yeah, she was the senator from California. I want to talk about this. This is from December 31st. Ever decreasing circles, why the worldwide banking Ponzi scheme must be reset. This is from Luke Eastwood by way of Zero Hedge. Since central banks became a thing back in the early 20th century, our central bank is the Federal Reserve, we've seen a massive decline in the national finances of most countries around the world. Of course, predating this was the formation of the Bank of England and its role in financing the British Empire. Yeah, you ever wonder how? You ever look in history, the timeline? When did the British start conquering countries, invading countries? It was shortly after the Bank of England was established in the late 1600s. By the early 1700s, they were colonizing lots of areas around the world. And since America started the Federal Reserve in 1913, our own central bank, we become a war machine. We had World War I, we had World War II, we had the Cold War. All wars are banking wars, at least since the arrival of central banks. One could argue that all these institutions exist not for the benefit of the world or humanity, but to deprive nation states of their income and owners of their resources, transferring both into the hands of private corporations and their shareholders. So today we're at a point where most countries are hideously in debt, many with debts far exceeding the dangerous 100% level of debt to gross domestic product ratio. While Japan has far exceeded this for decades and totally not totally collapsed, it has proven to be a massive drag on the country, with huge amounts of money being wasted on interest payments alone. I watched some anime YouTube channels and commentators, and they always complain about, they always bring up Japan's fertility problem, their aging population. Japan has a fertility problem because they have an economic problem. It's too expensive to raise a family in Japan. It's too expensive to raise a family in South Korea, where that has an even worse birth rate. And it's too expensive to raise a family in the United States, unless you're on the dole. The USA is, of course, increasing its debt ratio. Metrics such as debt are destined to lead to an implosion eventually, with a contraction into ever-decreasing circles. There's not enough income in the world to pay back all the money that is owed. I covered this a couple years ago. There's actually more debt than money. You look at the Federal Reserve's website. I think you got to go to like the division in St. Louis. They'll tell you what the actual supply of U.S. dollars is around the world. I think it's they call it the M3 money supply. Then you look at the national debt. The national debt is higher than the money supply. Then you add all the debt by companies, by state governments, by local governments, by individuals, by families. It's got to be like 7 or 8 times the total debt among Americans and people who use the U.S. dollar. The total debt is probably like 7 to 8 times bigger than the actual supply of U.S. dollars. There's like a 7 out of 8 chance that the money in your bank account is someone else's debt. The imbecile mistake is this kind of financial mismanagement that 10-year-olds can comprehend. Yeah, this is a worldwide phenomenon that only a few countries have avoided. Russia being a case in approximately 20% debt to GDP. However, this situation has been allowed to persist for decades now. In personal finances, the same situation has occurred for most people. I don't know if I want to read the whole article. The author says, when I was a child in the 1970s, many people did not have a bank account. Credit was limited to expensive white goods in some shops and a slate at the with a local grocer, and that had been cleared or at least substantially reduced at the end of the month. The idea of accumulating debt of 3 to 10 times your annual household income was just not an option for most people. This changed with the arrival of personal banking in the 1980s, eventually leading to the current situation where most families live paycheck to paycheck because they have maxed out their borrowing with banks and credit card companies, meaning that a massive portion of their incomes is wasted on debt payments and the interest accrued. Yeah. Of course, such situations cannot continue forever, which is why the World Economic Forum came up with their heinous Great Reset plan to deal with the inevitable end of the road when the financial can cannot be kicked any further and collapse is unavoidable. In fact, one might conclude that the WEF plan includes an induced or controlled collapse in preparation for their neo-feudal and totalitarian Great Reset to be rolled out across a largely unsuspecting world. Dave at Dave's 22 Report has been predicting this for as long as I've been listening to him, and that was right around the time of the election fortification in 2020. The globalists, the cabal, the NWO, the World Economic Forum, whatever you want to call them, they want to collapse the economy and introduce their central bank digital currency, among other things. Now, the question is, do the White Hats, do President Trump and his allies in the military and other White Hats around the world, do they have something to take its place? They're going to have to introduce it at just the right time to both expose the cabal's plan and make sure that the regular people can survive. I've heard talk that there is an alternative system in place. We just got to wait and be prepared for it. Okay, I'm going to give you financial advice. Try to accumulate as much tangible assets as you can. Even if it's like baking soda or oatmeal or rice. Something fungible, something real, something you can barter with. I mean, I invest in Bitcoin, I invest in cryptocurrency, I invest in gold and silver. Have something that you can exchange. And if that's not the actual monetary system, then you can trade it for the actual monetary system when it comes around. So be prepared that way. We're gonna go down to the last couple paragraphs here just to get the main point. The whole current situation only became possible because of an insane desire for outrageous profits instead of substantial profits, which led to a bizarre form of cannibalism of human society. Eventually, when you have eaten everybody else, you're forced to eat your own limbs and face your own inevitable death. But the elites who rigged up this whole Ponzi scheme failed to see that they too would end up victims of their own success in the end. In ancient Babylon, the debt problem was solved by debt cancellation on the installation of a new ruler to replace the dead king. This rather drastic measure was rather simplistic, but as the time scale was relatively short, it did solve the problem of unsustainable lending and out-of-control debt obligations. The Israelites had something a lot more humane. It's in the Bible. God prescribed it. It was called the Jubilee. Every 7 years, debts would be canceled. We need to study the Jubilee and figure out how we can cancel our debts and get out of it, because a lot of them are just illegitimate anyway. What I am suggesting has no doubt been proposed by others. It is in effect a reset, perhaps a humane reset rather than a great reset. It would seek to preserve the wealth, assets, and financial viability of nations, commercial organizations, and individuals, preventing a massive transfer of assets to a few individuals who own the Ponzi scheme. In fact, the only real losers would be the owners of the Bank of International Settlements, International Monetary Fund, etc., who no longer have any income on their balance sheets, only loans that have become defunct. It would be an opportunity to take stock, return to sound financial practices, and enable commerce to recommence on a more equal, fair, and usually truly sustainable footing. Surely in the long run, a more calibrated and reasonable financial system with permanent fiscal checks and balances is the only practical means of enabling human society to function on a beneficial rather than ultimately self-destructive way. Okay, we must grasp the nettle regarding the impending financial collapse that cannot be far away. If we do not come up with a viable alternative plan, and very soon, we'll be faced with the choice of a great reset or an unpredictable, chaotic implosion. Or we will be ready for the the Patriots system. So, like I said, gather as much tangible, fungible assets as you can with your fiat dollars, and then be prepared to exchange them for the future money that's coming down the pike. Now, credit card defaults surge 50%, economic growth accelerates. That's a surprise. You read that. Now, here's something I definitely want to cover. And I might cover this in an individual video. I'm going to read this whole thing because this is important. We're talking about eliminating income tax. We're talking about, Trump has said he wants to eliminate tax on tips, tax on Social Security, what have you. We move the conversation to eliminating taxes altogether, at least income taxes. You got to eliminate property tax too. And Tyler Durden, submitting an article by Mitch Vexler, president of GP and Mockingbird Properties, explains that property tax is illegal. We've watched how governments have been mismanaging our taxpayer money in the LA fires, and all the money funneled to Ukraine, sent to foreign countries who leech off us. Governments that's involved in like drug trafficking, human trafficking, what have you. Why the hell should we pay taxes to such a government? Why the hell should we owe taxes to such a criminal organization disguised as government? Starts. I sincerely believe that the principle of spending money to be paid by posterity under the name of funding is but swindling futurity on a large scale. This is from Thomas Jefferson in 1816. They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. That's Benjamin Franklin. Okay, issue 1. One can argue that the 16th Amendment, going back to 1913, and we are prepared to do so. The quantified evidence that we have assembled over several years of lawsuits points to exactly why the law, as originally written, prohibits taxation on unrealized gains. Market value, as created by the states from which an assessed taxable value is denoted, is in fact an unrealized gain. Although perhaps well-intentioned in its debut, property tax has been made illegal because there are no longer any enforced laws protecting the rights of the real estate tax-paying citizens. Let us hold the following to be true. 1. There are 3,143 counties in the United States, and the vast majority of them, under state law, require uniform standards of professional appraisal practice and mass appraisal standards. Number 2, the USPAP is rendered meaningless as it is not followed in favor of hand overriding property values outside the confines of any law or proper appraisal method. Number 3, school district bonds, for which there is no signature, is not implicit. 4, contracts made under duress are unenforceable. Voluntary consent requires adequate information, lack of coercion, force, manipulation, or intimidation, and the freedom to revoke consent at any time. Number 5, if fraud is discovered, contracts are void. 6, state and central appraisal districts across the U.S. have violated the USPAP, which in many states is a third-degree felony for those who signed an oath of office. 7, states and central appraisal districts across the U.S. have violated mass appraisal standards, USPAP standards number 5 and 6. Okay, 8, many school districts refuse to make public their bond schedules, balance sheet with proper notes, and the sources, and use a schedule of the bond proceeds. We discovered a compound cumulative effect of not retiring the bond debt, but rolling it out and rolling the interest rate up. 9, states and central appraisal districts have violated state property codes. For example, in Texas, sections 23.01b and 23.01e to identify a few, not all inclusive. 10, states, taxing entities, which are school districts, cities, counties, special districts, etc., central appraisal districts across the U.S. have violated state constitutions, uniform and equal. Texas, Board of Equalization, and California. Okay. 11. Real estate taxpayers, single-family, multifamily, commercial landowners, have had the rights to due process under the 5th and 14th Amendments violated as the recourse to prohibit the equity stripping and theft of taxpayer money, and has been rendered possible by the intentional layering of gauntlets such as the appraisal review panels, which are comprised mostly of senior citizens who know nothing about appraisal law, USPAP and property tax code, or math. Number 12, quote, pay your taxes or we will take your house. We have testimony and video evidence. 13, get a second job to pay your taxes. We have testimony and audio evidence. 14, 60,000 properties out of the database in Excel, says Chief Appraiser Denton, Central Appraisal District, County, Texas. We have this recording. Number 15, we calculated in the last 5 years roughly 21.2 trillion of fraudulent property valuation, roughly double in the last 5 years alone, has been created, which resulted in roughly $450 billion in overtaxation by mom and pop in 2024. 16. As seen in the graphic below, each homeowner in the U.S. owes roughly $1.3 million of U.S. national debt, unfunded liabilities, plus local tax and entity debt, which, if amortized over 25 years at 6.25% interest, would require that your income increase by $9,000 per month immediately, which is not possible to pay off. Wording. 17. The above violates the U.S. Constitution, 1st, 5th, 14th, and 16th Amendments. 18. The above equates the state and federal RICO crimes throughout the majority of states. 19. The U.S. Constitution trumps state law under the Supremacy Clause, which exists to prohibit a state from violating its own constitution. This article is long, but we're going to read the whole damn thing. If property valuation were true, requiring a willing buyer and willing seller, neither under duress and cash and settled, then the maximum value assigned could only be what the house was built for or what the house was purchased for until such time as the house is sold. The laws and violations thereof have morphed to the point where the cash grab of the local taxing entities, i.e. school districts, have rendered meaningless all the protections and law that were established to protect the citizen and real estate taxpayers, and this has an extreme fraudulent inflation factor. There are 8 elements of real estate tax in the milk that goes in your cappuccino. Therefore, real estate tax fraud on a mass scale affects every person who shops whether they realize it or not. The more elements of tax, the higher the inflation, the higher the fraud. If those protections are going to be ignored, USPAP, State Property Tax Code, state constitutions, and U.S. Constitution, then the net result is the equity stripping of property taxpayers, such that if there is no law, then why pay real estate taxes? In other words, either the law exists or it doesn't. Equity stripping is the compound cumulative effect of paying a fraudulently created overvaluation, resulting in overtaxation, and this means that making money on the purchase of your home has a very low probability of success because the taxing entities took your profit over taxation via the fraud. If those protections under law are going to be adhered to, then those responsible for violating the laws must be held accountable. The taxing entities, i.e. school districts, are hiding the bond schedules from the public, which would show that the bonds are not being paid off and that cumulative compounding of debt and interest is occurring. Many school districts will need to be put into involuntary bankruptcy to unwind what debt can be unwound. We discovered there are roughly 143 million single-family homes in the U.S. which are burdened by roughly $240,000 of school bond debt. Either the law exists, Your Honor, or it doesn't. Please state the obvious, which is that the law exists for the protection of the citizens, and if not, which is clearly has been proven, or we would not be in front of the appellate court, then eliminating property taxes in favor of a uniform states sales tax, eliminate approximately 15.6%. Must be amended to ensure the protections of the citizens. Return the balance sheet to mom and pop. Restore transparency by eliminating the real estate tax fraud, and make the playing field fair for all real estate taxpayers, and reduce the fraudulently created inflation simultaneously. Okay. I'm going to take a drink, or else I'm going to start sounding like RFK Jr. Issue number 2. Several well-known people on YouTube interviewed me, and in one of those videos I asked, Mr. Spencer, Chief Appraiser, Denton County Central Appraisal District, what does stop you or any chief appraiser from raising the values in 2025 to infinity? Given that the values are irrefutably created by hand outside of any requirements in USPAP, mass appraisal standards, state property tax code, state constitution, and U.S. Constitution, the answer would be nothing. We now have further proof of such a criminal position, which is the November 22nd, 2024 article that exposes the Montgomery County Assessor in Central Illinois, wherein an attempted theft of an approximate 1,400% increase in real estate taxes for 2025 was on the table. To be crystal clear, real estate valuation that adheres to the law is based on quantified analysis of true comparisons, not meaning predetermined budgets handed to the chief appraisers by the taxing entities, where many of those taxing entities are bankrupt. So, to keep the illusion going, it's just burning money and is not going to be the benefit of the students, which would be lower test scores, lower enrollment, closing schools, but rather intended to protect the pensions. It is a form of second Social Security. Are the homeowners responsible for the actions of the school district? No. Real estate taxpayers have been duped by mission. When bonds are raised by school districts, big money is spent in advertising to pull the wool over the eyes of the trusting public, to the point where now roughly 30% of the households will go bankrupt or lose a roof over their head because of the cash grab at the hands of the central appraisal districts and their owners, the taxing entities, i.e. the school districts. So, are you happy with your school voicing the LGBTQ trans agenda on your kids? Are you happy with lower test scores? Are you happy with, school bullying? Are you happy with teachers voicing ADHD meds on kids who don't necessarily need them? Then why the hell should you pay taxes? Even when ordered by the state attorney general to turn over the bond schedule, we have yet to see a single bond schedule, balance sheet with proper notes, and sources and uses, which is what should be required as part of the process of raising bond money. The appropriate solution for this intentional omission and pattern and practice to deceive is to file the school districts into involuntary bankruptcy and then sue each person who signed an oath and held the attorneys responsible, officers of the court, for violating taxpayers' rights under both federal and state constitutions, as well as pressing criminal charges and disbarment. The main point being, put the school districts into bankruptcy. At the state level, the equity stream of mom and pop has now herein been laid bare. If you think the above is bad, but wait, there is more. Who purchased the school bonds? Could it be 401ks and pensions? Who owns the 401ks and pensions? Mom and pop. Once due diligence was done by the purchasers of the school bonds to determine the true value and value at risk. A school district in Texas, with an alleged balance sheet of $8 million, has effectively bankrolled the private development of two $2,000 acre solar fields via 313 agreements promoted by the state comptroller. Are the taxpayers obligated to pay for this fraud on the public, where there's no guaranteed return on investment or guaranteed return of investment? No. Did the real estate tax-paying citizens agree to fund the non-education of bond debt, which is intentionally hidden from the public, so that even the state of Texas does not know how much debt is being retired, but does know that $6 to $12 billion is being raised every 6 months? No. These problems are not just Texas-specific, but are across the vast majority of the U.S. because USPAP, the law, is being ignored in favor of unfettered theft of taxpayer money. Issue number 3. Average annual housing expenses versus debt, federal and local taxing entities. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that the average annual household expenditures were $77,280, or $6,640 a month in 2023, with the largest share going toward housing costs, with property taxes being a significant portion of the cost of housing. Others have crunched the numbers and have shown that for a family of 4, the average monthly expenditures are between $8,450 and $101,817, or $101,400, or to $117,804 annually. So you got to make six figures in order to survive and have a middle class income. How many of you have a six-figure salary? So if the average household needs to earn between $77,280 and $117,804 annually to cover a monthly living cost between $66.40 and $98.17, how can households also cover an additional $9,000 a month or $108,000 a year in implicit debt guarantees resulting from the excessive debt existing at the local and federal levels? The household median income in 2023 was reported at $80,610 by Census.gov. So clearly, if their cost of living was $77,280, as stated by the USLBS, they're not saving much, maybe $3,000 a year. Where can they cover the implicit debt guarantee of $9,000 per month? The chart below shows the math behind the $9,000 per month of local and federal debt burden, implicit guarantee, using Denton County, Texas households as an example population group. And that's a little too small for me to read, especially too small for you to read on your screen. So we'll continue. Issue number 4, and this is the last section. And this is good. The 16th Amendment, I have my own problems with the 16th Amendment and income tax, so let's read this. The 16th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution does not provide for, nor state, that all land is owned by the federal government. In fact, the War of 1812 was fought to prohibit this exact action. Real estate property owners have been relegated to paying rent on the dirt below their asset, and yet there is no agreed to ground lease with any state government as the lessor and a property owner as the lessee. Can anyone show you or me where the taxing entities are the ground lessor in any taxing county in the United States, such as the lands of His Majesty King Kamehameha III in Hawaii, which date back to 1814? No. Given the above, and given the testimony from across the U.S. that is coming to our office daily, it is clear mom and pop are being taxed out of their homes. What was once the balance sheet of mom and pop being home with a declining debt balance to eventually zero is no longer possible, making retirement for many impossible. The current situation, including a military veteran in Ohio named Bob, who is 85 years old, on a fixed income, who bought his home for $24,000, is now being commanded to pay $3,100 in property tax, which is money he does not have. What is the benefit of moving this man to senior care that he does not need or want on the dime of the real estate taxpayer at an approximate cost of $80,000 per year? We have quantified that roughly 72% of the single-family homeowners cannot afford what the Central Appraisal District's claim as the median value of a home, which proves the fraud on its face. The system has become so irretrievably corrupt that the only solution is the elimination of property taxes in favor of uniform states sales tax. The balance sheet of homeownership, mom and pop being the economic engine of the U.S., must be reinstated so that when the property is sold, the potential profit is achievable for purposes of retirement and not to force people out of their homes. MF and single family, because they can't afford the fraudulent induced real estate taxes. If not, the system of fraud has effectively bankrupted the vast majority of its citizens, as well as the taxing entities, by their own hand, such that the debt on the federal and or local level cannot be paid off. It is time to put those responsible in jail. The district attorneys need to do their job, and if they don't, they're part of the problem. State and federal RICO laws are clear, and the map is the list I provided at the beginning of this discussion. Evidence is at mockingbirdproperties.com/DCAD. What can mom and pop do right now to help themselves? Travis Spencer wrote a free course. Okay, he's pitching his product there. But we need a tax vault in the spirit of Robin Hood and the American colonists. I mean, really, spend your money on ammunition rather than taxes. I swear. Now, part of the problem of the whole tax situation is we're in debt and we don't have actual real money. I'm telling you to accumulate real assets. And that brings me to another sponsor here, another referral partner, and that is Noble Gold Investments. Gold and silver. Yeah, you see Charlie Kirk there. He's a big conservative, big week. But Noble Gold is one of the gold investment companies that I trust, and you can roll over your retirement plan into a gold IRA, a silver IRA, or you can invest directly. Now, I saw a meme a couple days ago, and I shared it on my Instagram and on my Twitter. It's Henry Ford back in the day paid his workers $5 a day. I forget what that amounts to in a year, but it did amount to 75 ounces of gold. Now, if you look at the price of gold today, what Henry Ford's unskilled laborers made equates to like 175,000, six figures. And the punchline is, you are being robbed. One of our problems, is fiat money that's created out of debt and just printing out of thin air. So we need a tangible asset. Gold is a tangible asset, and so is silver. So is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not just digital money, digital books on a computer. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, if they're real legitimate, which I'll get to another screen later. Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, XRP, they're secured by cryptographic, coding, and they are distributed. They're decentralized. They run on devices all around the world, so they are not controlled by a single person or organization. Your fiat money is controlled by a central organization, and so would a central bank digital currency be controlled by a single organization. A central bank digital currency is the nightmare scenario if the cabal gets their way, if the World Economic Forum gets their way, because they'll be able to turn your money off on a whim, if they don't like your politics, if they don't like what you're saying on Twitter or on Facebook, if they think you spend enough money on gas and not enough on soybean products, they can actually control what you spend. So move your money, take control of your money with gold, silver, and a little later on we'll talk about how you can invest in cryptocurrency. But let's talk about cryptocurrency now. But first, I want to talk about this. I mentioned this a couple nights ago. This story from December. Rare Pokemon cards are being used to finance organized crime. The former head of a crime syndicate said his organization used Pokemon cards to launder money. The group used advanced metal detectors to find foil cards in packs. Pokemon recently launched an app with digital trading cards, Pokemon TGC Pocket, and just got its first major update. So this is from PocketLint.com. Over the years, some Pokemon cards have skyrocketed in value, and it seems some criminal groups in Japan have taken notice of them. Speaking to Shunkan Gendai Online, the former head of a Japanese crime syndicate tells them that his organization was using Pokemon cards to launder stolen money, via IGN and translated by Automaton. The former head of the crime syndicate explained that since Pokemon cards are so small, they are very easy to buy, stow away, and transport aboard. And how do these groups find and obtain the valuable Pokemon cards? Metal detectors are used to find foil cards. Expensive Pokemon cards typically have a shiny foil on them to denote the fact that they are rare or valuable. So the gang would buy as many packs in bulk and use advanced metal detectors to pick up the foil in any packs from outside the packaging. So yeah, when you buy a pack of Pokemon cards, you buy them for like, I don't know, for pocket change for like $4 or $5 US. If you're lucky, you'll get a rare card which is worth thousands or hundreds. How do you know which packs have the rare cards? You don't on the face of this, but the gangs here use metal detectors to find the foil on the rare cards. These methods let the crime syndicate resell the packs they didn't open for face value and take rare cards they found and sell them individually at very high prices. It's unsurprising to see a crime syndicate do this, considering exorbitant prices some rare Pokemon cards are going for nowadays. Perhaps it's a good thing Pokemon is shifting to the digital side of things with the Pokemon TGC Pocket app, which launched in October. The mobile game lets users collect and battle digital Pokemon trading cards, and the game is making heaps of money for the Pokemon Company, and by extension, Nintendo. They recently launched its first significant update, Mythical Island, which adds 86 new cards to the game plus new missions and rewards. So the point I want to make here is a lot of critics say cryptocurrency is used for money laundering. It's used by criminals. I even follow a few pages on Facebook and online saying that Bitcoin is used by the child traffickers and pedos. Bitcoin. The point I want to make with this article is criminals can use anything to move money. We got the Yakuza moving money with Pokemon cards. Criminals covet Federal Reserve notes. They covet gold and silver. I mean, the central banks are trying to buy as much gold as they can. The benefit with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is most legitimate cryptocurrencies have a public ledger, so you can actually track the transactions. So the only advantage I think XRP has over Bitcoin is that it moves faster and there are more XRP tokens in circulation, so it's more accessible to regular folks than Bitcoin is. But Bitcoin's the OG cryptocurrency, and it has proven itself. And it's proving itself. And it's proven itself over 2024. This article from Cointelegraph, Chris comes back to charts on election night, and it reached all-time highs that night when Trump was declared the winner. Bitcoin cost 100K, marking a bullish year. Still, legal battles and regulatory crackdowns and poor decisions test the industry. Okay. The crypto industry experienced a remarkable resurgence in 2024, fueled by a Bitcoin bull run that pushed Bitcoin's market price above $100,000, restoring investor confidence and delivering substantial returns across the crypto market. Amid the numerous significant milestones achieved throughout the year, it is easy to overlook the major challenges that industry players and investors face. Okay. It's just kind of a summary of major news stories in cryptocurrency throughout 2024. But this is a lengthy article. Let's just go to the conclusion. The events discussed above showcase the myriad of unique hurdles the crypto ecosystem overcame. A lot of government regulations by hostile countries, scams, what have you. For navigating regulatory crackdowns and unfavorable government decisions to manage the fallout from failed projects and legal disputes, the cryptocurrency space has demonstrated its ability to evolve and learn from past missteps. As global adoption continues to grow and regulations become clearer, the lessons of 2024 have reinforced the importance of strategic decision-making, long-term vision. Okay, there's a bunch of platitudes. But here's something that's very pertinent. Back to Zero Hedge and the reposting of Cointelegraph. It's here to say, as investors brace for persistent geopolitical uncertainty, according to a January 3rd research note by JP Morgan shared with Cointelegraph, gold and Bitcoin appear to have more important components of investors' portfolios structurally as they increasingly seek to hedge capital inflow into crypto markets in 2024. Inflation happens. Gold and Bitcoin are hedges against inflation. They're safe havens for your wealth. That's what debasement trade means. I'm flipping here. I think this is a good thing to read here. Nations say Bitcoin adoption to drive crypto growth and according to Digital AM investment company. A lot of people have their 401ks with them. I used to before I rolled it over. Countries are expected to have Bitcoin into national strategic reserves in 2025, kicking off significant growth in the crypto market. Fidelity Digital Assets said in its latest research paper. So countries and governments are accumulating Bitcoin. Corporations are accumulating Bitcoin as a wealth asset. You see a bunch of central banks acquiring gold. Governments are acquiring gold, so it only makes sense. Now, this makes me think that Bitcoin is going to be the cryptocurrency choice of governments and big institutions, and other cryptocurrencies like Ether and XRP are going to be more available to the regular folks. There's an old saying that gold is the currency of kings and silver and copper are for merchants and regular folks. So, it's possible for a country to have more than one currency. In the early days of the U.S., we used gold and silver. And gold and silver are actually mentioned in the Constitution for interstate commerce. The dollar was backed by both either gold or silver. And really, paper money was really just supposed to be a certificate, a rain check for gold or silver that you have in the bank. Gold and silver are cumbersome. They're hard to carry if you have a lot of it. So paper money, notes, are more convenient and say, hey, if I pay you this much in paper money for whatever, for a job you've done or for this product, you're entitled to the gold in my bank with this note. We got away from that in 1971 when Nixon took us off the gold standard. Back to my point, it's possible for multiple currencies to exist at the same time. In ancient Israel, they used gold, silver, and copper. In ancient Rome, they used gold, silver, copper, bronze, salt. In feudal Japan, they used gold, silver, copper, rice, and hemp. And in the American colonies, they used gold, silver, copper, tobacco leaves, anything fungible. It's possible to have more than one currency in your country. I'm going to read this here. A progressive case for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, strengthening America's social safety net, by way of Zero Hedge again. I ought to make this the Zero Hedge show. This is so good. The author says, I'll start off by saying I have many reservations about the United States pursuing a strategic Bitcoin reserve, with the major plans I've observed, including legislation proposed by Senator Loomis and draft executive order from the Bitcoin Policy Institute. This not includes the proposed state by state, which is okay. My reservations include timing, political ramifications, mechanisms, costs of obtaining Bitcoin, why the U.S. would pursue this as a nation already leading as the world reserve currency. Government getting more involved with Bitcoin could lead to more influence with Bitcoin's development, and ramifications on Bitcoin as money for U.S. citizens. Would privacy, medium of exchange, self-custody be a greater risk? I think Nick Carter wrote an excellent piece questioning the SBR, Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, pursuing, which I'd highly agree. Well, I've also seen support for an SBR from Bitcoin proponents, mostly GOP politicians and Trump. There has yet been any attention paid to this in a positive way from progressives. In fact, really only criticism. While I have my reservations and criticism, as I have clearly stated to be transparent here, I'd like to discuss the ways in which the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve would actually be a positive thing for America. One, it's a hedge against inflation. I'm just going to read the bullet points. Two, it's revenue generation for safety nets. It's an asset that appreciates and it's controlled liquidation. It's an alternative to taxpayer burden. It reduces taxpayer reliance and reduces deficit spending. It's an emergency financial assistance that mitigates crises and its global remittance efficiency. Promoting financial inclusion for vulnerable populations. I've heard of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency being used in developing countries. Like in Africa, everyone has a smartphone, but not necessarily a computer. They've been able to use Bitcoin to do business. Number 6, incentivizing green Bitcoin mining for job creation. So generating Bitcoin and acquiring it and adding it to your balance, to your computer, to your device, it requires energy. A lot less energy than a lot of the existing banking cabal, but it incentivizes green. It encourages maybe not green energy, but energy conservation. Economic resilience to to fund long-term programs. This is important. Enhancing public trust in social programs. Transparent funding mechanism. Bitcoin's blockchain technology ensures a transparent ledger. Using a Bitcoin reserve to partially fund social programs can increase public trust in how resources are allocated and managed, reducing skepticism about government waste or corruption. Well, what have we been talking about? Government waste and corruption. The SBR Bitcoin addresses will be made public, like El Salvador does. I'm talking about XRP. I'm kind of a late comer to being a fan of XRP. But I think this is significant. XRP just flips USDT again to become the third largest. Tether. Tether is a stablecoin. It's a type of cryptocurrency that matches the US dollar. So a lot of cryptocurrency exchanges use Tether in place of actual US dollars. Whenever you buy Tether, the Tether crypto network generates Tether tokens to use on whatever, usually on exchange, but also other things. Tether is not accepted by businesses in the US, but it's redeemable for US dollars on exchanges. So a lot of decentralized exchanges, like the one I'm a big fan of, Apex, you have to use Tether to actually do your trading instead of US dollars. I got criticism of Tether for that's like a whole other ball of wax, and I would prefer to use a different stable coin like USDC. But USDC is not widely available on most DeFi exchanges for some reason. I'm hoping the Apex includes USDC in the near future, because there have been questions about Tether, but XRP is growing. Now, what's the deal with XRP? XRP was the subject of a lawsuit in the last couple of years. And this is a long article on Cointelegraph. We're just going to read the first paragraphs of each section here because Ripple was singled out by the SEC. We're going to read this article. SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. Everything you need to know. This is dated September 13th, 2024. Okay, the key takeaways. SEC claims Ripple sold XRP as an unregistered security, while Ripple argues XRP is a digital currency. XRP's value is dropped by more than 50% after the lawsuit was announced, leading to major exchanges delisting it. That was in September. Since then, it's going to be the third largest cryptocurrency. Ripple has built partnerships with over 300 financial institutions, bolstering community faith despite legal challenges. The SEC's October 2024 appeal deadline could further prolong the legal battle and impact the entire crypto market. So the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit centers on the United States Securities and Exchange Commission's claim that Ripple illegally sold XRP as an unregistered security, while Ripple argues that XRP is a digital currency, not a security. So Ripple is the company that developed XRP. XRP is the currency. Ripple is the company behind it. And that Ripple is insisting that the XRP is a currency, not an asset. You can think of Bitcoin and Ether as assets. You can think of gold and silver as assets, because that's what they are under. Well, in the U.S., it's Congress who has the power to coin money. So whatever they say is money in legal tender, it counts as money. So apparently, SEC took offense that Ripple said that XRP is money. Now, why would Ripple insist that they're money when Congress hasn't talked about that? That's a good question. I don't think we have time to read the whole article, but I think that's I might make this a separate video on itself. We can discuss that later. Now, let's move on here because we're already past 2 hours. I'll talk about a way you can invest in genuine cryptocurrency without getting rug pulled on a pump and dump scheme or a crypto scam. And that's the next referral partner I want to promote, the next sponsor, and that's I Trust Capital. You can set up a gold or silver or crypto retirement plan with I Trust Capital. That's who I have my retirement plan through. I rolled it over into I Trust Capital. You can invest in cryptocurrency and gold and that way. So the nice thing about I Trust Capital is they only include the most trusted cryptocurrencies. There's Bitcoin, there's Ether, there's let's look at the ticker here. There's basic attention token, Chile's compound. You can see all the they research tokens carefully to make sure all the most legitimate, trusted currencies are included. You've heard talk about crypto scams, like the Hawk Tuah girl was involved in one. There are lots of scams. There are lots of shit coins. You gotta be careful. You gotta be educated. But I Trust Capital does a lot of research for you. So go ahead and click on the link if you're so motivated. A big thing about your retirement plan is most of your assets are going to be in like stocks, corporations. I mentioned more. A lot of the woke DEI, far left policies promoted by corporations are foisted on them by money managers like BlackRock and State Street, what have you. They are the managers of the stocks of these companies. What's really sinister is that they use your stocks, the money in your plan fund, to force companies to do things that you may not agree with. I mean, you may not even know you have stocks in these companies. A lot, last year, the Walt Disney Company had a fight over who to include on their board of directors. Nelson Peltz, a big activist investor, wanted to be on the board, along with a former Disney executive who wanted to reform Disney and bring it back to Walt's original vision. They were forced out by money managers in the big institutions. A lot of mom and pop investors in Disney probably sold their stock, and those who probably didn't know they had Disney stock. So that's how that was thwarted. You can take control of the economy. You can take control of your freedom by taking control of your money and your assets. If you don't approve of the way your stocks being used, you can take them out of the stock market and roll them into alternative assets, like the ones in I Trust Capital or the ones in Noble Gold. So consider that here. We're going to talk about big tech censorship because this is the other big news this week. Mark Zuckerberg promises not to censor anymore. Will he make up for punishing truth tellers before? So I don't trust Mark Zuckerberg. He's only doing this after Trump was certified. He might be leveraged the same way we talked about Gavin Newsom being leveraged. I kind of wonder if that's the Mark Zuckerberg we've seen in videos with the big white boy afro and the tan. I wonder if that's the real Zuckerberg. We talk about Joe Biden being replaced by a body double. I kind of wonder if Simon Cowell and Kevin Spacey have been replaced by doubles. I kind of wonder if Zuckerberg's been replaced by a double. But apparently, Meta, which includes Facebook and Instagram, they're not going to censor anymore. Well, talk is cheap. This is significant, though. This is as of December 30th. Obama's censorship office goes bankrupt. This is by Gabe Kaminsky via RealClearPolitics.com. The Global Engagement Center. Did we talk about that already? Wasn't that something in California? The Global Engagement Center, an office housed within the State Department aiming to thwart disinformation and misinformation, has been forced by Congress to close up shop. It's no mystery why. The taxpayer-funded GEC violated its mandate to work only overseas and devolved into a partisan enabler of speech suppression in the United States. It's a lengthy article. We'll just read the conclusion here. The GEC's failure to win reauthorization is a further vindication of our reporting on seemingly unlawful activities, violating the First Amendment. Make no mistake, we will be watching to see if the federal officers accused and okay. Now, this is significant. We're talking about Tether. This is a win. This is a plus in Tether's cap. What the Rumble Tether alliance signals for subverting big tech's dominance. So Tether, the organization behind it, has invested heavily in Rumble, the free speech YouTube alternative, which I'm streaming on right now. Let's read this article first. Rumble secures $765 million investment from Tether to bolster free speech and decentralization. This is from reclaimthenet.org. Rumble, a rapidly growing video sharing platform committed to free speech, has announced a landmark $775 million investment from Tether, the world's largest stablecoin issuer and a leader in digital assets. This partnership aligns two influential players in their shared mission to advance decentralization and challenge the status quo of centralized systems. The transaction is set to provide a significant boost to Rumble's resources and operational capabilities. Yeah, Rumble's been adding features to match to go up against YouTube. They've included memberships, super chats, gift memberships to match what YouTube does. So that's a lot of money on the table. Chris Pavlovski, Rumble's chairman and CEO, will retain his controlling stake following the investment. Emphasizing the synergy between cryptocurrency and free speech communities, Pavlovski remarked, "I cannot be more excited about this collaboration with Tether for a number of reasons. First, many people may not realize the incredibly strong connection between cryptocurrency and free speech communities, which is rooted in a passion for freedom, transparency, and decentralization. Second, the immediate commitment of adding $250 million in cash to our balance sheet not only confirms the level of support and commitment to a collaboration between our companies, it also fuels our growth initiatives. And third, this transaction provides an immediate liquidity event for all of our stockholders who elect to participate in the self-tender offer. I truly believe Tether is the perfect partner that can put a rocket pack on the back of Rumble as we prepare for the next phase, our next phase of growth." So this makes me feel better about Tether. Or maybe it's a Trojan horse. We'll have to wait and see. What the Rumble Tether alliance signals for subverting big tech's dominance. Sitting down with Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy, an interview venue as unfiltered as the platforms discussed, Rumble CEO Chris Pavlovski shared the details of the $775 million investment from cryptocurrency giant Tether. I just want to skip ahead and see how long this article is. I think here's the big conclusion here. The integration of cryptocurrency into Rumble's ecosystem could change the way creators monetize their content, including tools like crypto-based tipping and payment options. So yeah, you can tip on Rumble. You can Rumble has a partnership with Locals, so I actually use my Rumble ID login information to log into Locals. I can sell my cast on there. This approach offers creators an alternative to traditional ad revenue models, aligning with Rumble's broader mission to empower individuals and reduce reliance on centralized systems. One of the big problems with YouTube and censorship is its reliance on ads. They talk about the ad apocalypse and how creators there got screwed out of ad money because advertisers pulled their sponsorships. YouTube, a lot of YouTube creators turn to like outside apps like Patreon and Subscribestar and their own websites to invite their viewers to support them directly rather than through YouTube. YouTube started including super chats and gift memberships so that viewers can support creators directly, and then YouTube takes a little commission from themselves. I think that's a much better model than relying on ads. Now, Rumble uses ads too, but I've probably made $1 and change in ad revenue from Rumble. I get most of my money from affiliate links like this. And Blackout Coffee is my biggest seller, so. Talking about crypto and alternative tech, Truth Social eyes crypto-powered fintech to guard against debanking. So Devin Nunes is the CEO of Truth Social. That's the Twitter alternative that Trump started. Devin Nunes is a former member of Congress who was instrumental in defeating the Russiagate and Russia collusion hoax. Truth Social CEO Devin Nunes has revealed that the company is exploring ways to protect the platform from possible future attempts to cancel it and its users. Nunes mentioned Nunes mentioned fintech solutions, specifically in order to create a payment processing system, and said cryptocurrency is likely to be part of it. Right now, Truth Social is in the phase of analyzing and building such a solution. The CEO said in an interview with the X22 report, though that the goal is to protect both the platform and its customers and users. This is not the only big tech alternative in the social media space that has realized the importance of trying to strategically defend against deplatforming at the infrastructural rather than only content level. Video platform Rumble being another prominent example. With the debanking of people and companies for political reasons, freezing them out of their bank accounts, and similar, the need for reliable, censor-proof payment systems only has become more and more obvious over the years. Nunes said that while this is not an easy task, it is something Truth Social has chosen to build with the intent to integrate the solution into the entire company. Also, as much of it as we can. As for what that road toward financial infrastructure independence, which is a prerequisite for sustainable platform independence, might be like, the Truth Social CEO said that cryptocurrency has to be part of the company's fintech choice. As for the plan is to allow users to pay their subscriptions with Bitcoin or another type of decentralized digital money, Nunes remarked that the number of people using crypto has increased, and that means the platform's target audience includes them as well, meaning that a future payment system solution would have to provide for this option. Nunes referred to this part as part of the big picture of creating the infrastructure designed to protect Truth Social from financial canceling going forward. He left the door open to achieving this goal either through the acquisition of relevant entities, then capable of developing such fintech solutions in-house, or going the route of partnering with those companies Truth Social feels safe about. So I think Dan Bongino has a company called Parallel Economy. I think it's Dan Bongino who's behind that. I don't listen to Dan Bongino as much as I should, but there's that. Now, as far as getting around big tech censorship, that brings me to my next sponsor, and that's NordVPN. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and it's a way to hide your browser history and also access content from other regions. A VPN, when you log in and connect to one of the data centers around the world, it hides your browser history. So that's a big, component of online privacy. You got big tech, you got corporations, you got government spying on you without a warrant. You got hackers trying to find your browser history, trying to find something to blackmail you with. I say this all the time. The former chief of the secret police in the USSR, who worked for Stalin, once said, "Show me the man, and I'll find you the crime." If the government wants to get you for something, they can make up something from your browser history. So protect your privacy with NordVPN. NordVPN is the industry leader among VPNs. It's my choice, and they've always got some good deals going on. Get 72% off. Another benefit of NordVPN is if there's content that's restricted in your country that you can't access, it's possible you can view it. It's available in another country, so you can set your VPN to another data center in another region. Say if you wanted to watch something on Netflix that's only available in South Korea, you can set your VPN to South Korea and watch those shows. I'm being hypothetical, but that's an option. If you want to use a cryptocurrency exchange that's restricted in your country, use VPN to get around that. I'm not saying you should do that. I want you to follow the laws in your country, but then again, we're seeing that governments are not following laws in their country. So do what you need to. All right. On to the next segment. We're going to talk about AI. A 2-hour interview is enough to create an accurate AI replica of your personality, says Stanford study. Hat tip to Raging Golden Eagle for this article. Through the looking glass, artificial intelligence has demonstrated remarkable capabilities, but could it replicate an entire personality after just a 2-hour interview? According to researchers, the answer is yes. Yet, such advancements raise serious ethical questions and concerns about potential misuse. I include this just as a sign that technology is advancing. Now, I've had criticisms of what AI really is. I mean, we've seen a good use of AI in analyzing congressional bills and identifying the pork. A lot of AI is just logarithmic or remixing of content that humans have already made. Say you want to create it, you want to generate an image, an artwork in AI, like in Grok or Midjourney. What you're really doing is sampling art created by other humans and using that as a base to create something different. It's a remix. All right, I listened to most of this. I listened to Raging Golden Eagle read most of this. We're only gonna skim parts of it, but they tested an AI on college students and found they can get like an 85% identical, personality match in AI. They basically use AI to predict what the actual human would do in a certain situation, like what choices they would make based on their values and their thought patterns and their language use. Back on the topic of Meta's AI-generated bot profiles are not being received well. So, someone, I think it was Dave on X22 report. Mark Zuckerberg says Facebook's not going to censor anymore. They're going to fire their fact checkers. But Dave suggested they're going to use AI to fact check people instead. They're already using AI-generated bot profiles, but there's been a huge backlash against them. This is from The Verge. The author is Mia Sato. In September 2023, Meta made a big deal of its AI chatbots that use celebrities' likenesses. Everyone from Kendall Jenner to Mr. Beast lays themselves out to embody AI characters on Instagram and Facebook. You see a lot of AI-generated images on Instagram. That e-girl who looks super appealing and you want to donate money to, that could be an AI-generated image. I think the Simps are getting wise to this and saving their money. I'm just glad this technology wasn't around when I was young and naive. There's Jane Austen, a cynical novelist and storyteller. Liv, whose bio claims she is a proud black queer mama of two and truth teller. But more than a dozen AI characters have apparently not been very popular. Each has just been a few thousand followers, with their posts getting just a few likes and comments. That is until last week or so. After a wave of coverage in outlets like Rolling Stone and posts circulating on social media, the bot accounts are just now being noticed, and the reaction is confusion, frustration, and anger. What the F does an AI know about dating? Reads one recent comment on the AI dating coach bot's profile. This isn't only virtual blackface, it's just all around weird, the commenter wrote on Liv's page. So Liv is apparently a dating coach. Another point of ire is that there doesn't appear to be any way to block the bots to typical channels. The option to block or restrict profiles is missing. So, yeah, use Meta, use Facebook and Instagram at your own risk. It's fine for browsing. It's fine for talking to actual people in your community and your friends and family. But don't count on it for reliable news. This is an article from the Register. Are you a better value for money than AI? Tech vendors start saying the quiet part out loud. Do enterprises really need all that headcount? So employers are saying, hey, can we get rid of our payroll and just use AI to do our work? AI vendors are starting to say the quiet part out loud. As technology advances, it seems more about controlling costs and headcount. OpenAI Chief Financial Officer Sarah Fryer was reported discussing the possibility of pricier tiers for a company's services and justifying four-figure tiers. Quite a jump from the $200 tier recently announced by working out the value of the service provided by the assistant and charging accordingly. This raises the question, why recruit somebody if an AI can assist lawyers as a virtual paralegal, help academics with their work, or do something as mundane as booking travel? Fryer reportedly said, how might you have had to finance that otherwise? Would you have had to go out and hire more people? How would you think about the replacement cost to some degree? And then how do we create a fair pricing for that? So what they're doing is phasing out workers. I mean, companies are refusing to hire anyway. I mean, if some of the meme pages on Instagram are to be believed and some of the accounts on Twitter are to be believed, a lot of job postings on online boards are fake. They're phony. They're just posted there so that companies can tell the government, hey, we're doing what we're supposed to do to grow our company. Keep your regulatory attack dogs off our back. When they really can't afford to hire anyone. That's why the job market is so shitty. And apparently OpenAI is saying, let's drop the pretense. Now, is getting involved. This is an article from the Epoch Times via Zero Hedge. Encode, an artificial intelligence AI advocacy group, filed a brief in support of Elon Musk's recent lawsuit against OpenAI, arguing that enabling the conversion toward a for-profit entity could endanger public interest. Musk filed a lawsuit against OpenAI last month, arguing that the entity was formed on promises that it would retain its nonprofit status focused on safe AI use. Musk said he invested in the project based on this premise. Disrupting the status quo will seriously harm plaintiffs and the public at large, the complaint said. In the brief, Encode is described as a youth-led organization advocating for safe and responsible artificial intelligence with a network of over 1,000 volunteers across 40 countries. On December 27th, Encode filed a proposed amicus curiae brief with the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California, Oakland Division, Silicon Valley, supporting Musk's motion for a preliminary injunction against the transition. If the world is truly at the cusp of a new age of artificial general intelligence, then the public has to, by a public entity, likely bound to prioritize safety and the public benefit, rather than an organization focused on generating financial returns for a few privileged investors. Yeah, that's the main problem with AI. Not just that it phases you out of your job, but that it's going to be controlled by a central organization, by the elites. That's the World Economic Forum's interest in AI. That's what OpenAI has supposedly done. That's Microsoft's interest in AI, why they invest so heavily into ChatGPT. Now let's go to this article. Now let's go to this piece, because this kind of goes hand hand in hand. Blockchain will make 2025 now to ensure a healthy trajectory for the technology. Opinion by Salman Al-Samir, co-founder and CEO of Chain Opera. With a market value expected to reach over $1.3 trillion by 2030, AI has captured the imagination of users and investors alike, enabling the world to work smarter and make more informed decisions. Yet the rapid progress of generative... Okay, this is... Let's go to the next paragraph. The centralized model of app creation, combined with the lack of inclusion of users and developers, means that agents and apps today lack the true personalization that will take AI agents to the next level of adoption and growth toward an expected $1 trillion AI economy. Through decentralizing AI app and agent creation, users and developers will be empowered with ownership, and better, more innovative applications will result starting in 2025. Ownership is the key to success with AI. To use ChatGPT, you got to subscribe to the service. It's a software as a service. You don't really own ChatGPT, you rent it. Same with Grok, although I trust Elon with Grok more than I trust ChatGPT. Elon has earned that trust. But ownership of your own AI app is going to make the difference. Star Wars is kind of a dead brand, but there's a great Star Wars-based YouTube channel called Generation Tech. I think I mentioned them before. They have a video explaining why droids in the Star Wars universe have not, taken over the galaxy like the Terminators and machines in the Matrix, why AI has been controlled. And part of it was because of private ownership of droids. Owners of droids are held responsible for the actions of the droids. So that created more direct control over droids and not making sure they didn't run amok. You ever see Westworld? The actual original movie, written by Michael Crichton, starring Yul Brynner. Michael Crichton said the main focus of Westworld, the main idea of Westworld wasn't that AI could go out of control and kill humans. The problem was the corporation behind the Westworld and their selfish self-interest. And I think James Cameron said that the main idea behind the original Terminator movie wasn't AI taking over and replacing humans. It was governments and countries and corporations using AI as a weapon. It's more commentary about the Cold War and the arms race. We're going to skip some of these articles, but I want to get to this one. One of the hurdles towards decentralizing AI and ownership is just the enormous energy cost of AI. With data center power crisis looming, U.S. government looks to Constellation, not just Amazon Web Services, Microsoft et al. They're betting on nuclear energy. 13 federal agencies getting the act too. So Constellation Energy has won contracts worth more than $1 billion from the U.S. government to supply nuclear power to over 13 federal agencies, validating efforts by data center operators to secure their own atomic resources. The Baltimore-based operator has inked agreements with the U.S. General Services Administration for the supply of power, as well as money to carry out energy savings and conservation measures with 5 GSA-owned facilities in the capital region. So the big obstacle to ownership and decentralization of AI is energy, and a lot of energy is created by corporations, utility companies, and a lot of them are they're paid for by regular folks in residential areas, but there's also big money from the government. So what needs to happen is sound money and more economic reform. Do I have any live chats yet? No. One more section and a little stinger at the end, and we'll wrap it up. But I want to mention another sponsor with affiliate links, and that's the Wellness Company. talked about last time. I talked about the cabal unleashing viruses and more pandemics on us. The cabal is going to do whatever it can to either delay President Trump's inauguration or make his next term impossible to run. And you gotta be sure that a pandemic is going to be part of that. COVID was just a test run for what the bad guys have planned. I heard that from Julie Green. We got to prepare for a pandemic, and the wellness company has wellness kits to do that. Med kits. They've got medical emergency kit. Which includes ivermectin, which the cabal just hates. People have proven that ivermectin plus fenbendazole will actually cure cancer. That's how important it is, and it's super affordable. So that's why it's such a big threat to the powers of big pharma. The wellness company also sells special supplements and detox formulas. If you were bullied into taking the COVID vaccine, the COVID shot, like I was by my family, or maybe you were by your employer, they don't have a complete detox plan. That has to be rolled out. But these formulas can go a long way. Can go a long way. They got Spike Support Formula, Ultimate Spike Detox. They got longevity supplements, sleep, healthy heart, energy, all sorts of supplements. They even have online telehealth, virtual care. So if you don't trust your establishment physician, like if you've lost trust in big pharma and the medical establishment, wellness company, they're building up a parallel medical system where you can have your doctor's checkups online. If you got an issue, go online and talk to your doctor at a much lower cost than the big establishment medical field. So I'm really proud to be part of wellness companies, referral network. I'm really proud to promote them. They're going to be super important for us to survive the transition into the next world and to really reform the system. I've talked about acquiring alternative assets. We also need alternative medicine, and wellness company is part of that. So go ahead and click on the link. I've got a discount code in the description. So if you click on the link in the description, if you're on YouTube or Rumble, or if you click on the link in my bio on Twitter, you can get set up. So take advantage. So I want to talk about video games. Now I'm going to talk about video games. This is from clownfishtv.com. And this is the main thrust of this last segment here. Corporations, corporate entertainment. We're seeing the collapse of Hollywood with the fires and the media strikes. We're also seeing the collapse of big AAA video games. Bloated budgets, what have you. How MeSide is making AAA games look really bad. This is by Derek Gibbs. Move over AAA gaming giants. That includes Sony, Microsoft, Electronic Arts, Activision, which was acquired by Microsoft, Ubisoft. Ubisoft's in big trouble. We're going to get to that. But a lot of the big traditional game corporations that have like really oversized budgets and polygon counts in the graphics, they're collapsing. And independent games and maybe AA budgets are taking their place. Move over AAA gaming giants. There's a new player in town. The indie anime horror game, MeSide, developed by a small Russian team, is proving that you don't need blockbuster budgets to make waves in the gaming industry. With over $9 million in revenue projected within just 2 weeks of release, the success of MeSide has sparked discussions about the state of AAA games in 2024. What is MeSide or MySide? MySide is an anime psychological horror game developed by a tiny team of Russian creators. With its unique blend of eerie atmosphere, gripping story, and innovative mechanics, the game has quickly captured the attention of gamers worldwide. Its success is even more impressive, given that it's not backed by a major publisher or a massive marketing campaign. The game's premise is simple yet effective. Players navigate a surreal, haunted environment where reality bends and twists in unexpected ways. Combining visual novel elements with tense survival horror gameplay, My Side has managed to carve out its own niche in a crowded market. AAA struggles in 2024. The success of My Side stands in stark contrast to the rocky year AAA titles have had in 2024. Here are a few examples of underperforming blockbusters. Star Wars Outlaws. Despite its massive budget and Disney's marketing muscle, Outlaws struggled to meet sales expectations. Many players criticized its lack of innovation and reliance on tired tropes, and the main character was not nice to look at. Dragon Age Veilguard by EA and their subsidiary BioWare. BioWare's latest entry in the beloved franchise suffered from lukewarm reviews and disappointing sales, with critics calling it a shadow of its predecessors. Concord by Sony. Despite its promises of fresh multiplayer experience, Concord failed to deliver compelling gameplay and struggled to attract a consistent player base. It was canceled less than 2 weeks after release, which reportedly lost Sony over $400 million. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Rocksteady's highly anticipated title disappointed fans with its live service focus and uninspired gameplay, leading to lackluster sales and widespread criticism. All these games are also unbelievably woke. They're overly politicized and ham-fisted and just ugly. Why is My Side succeeding? There's several reasons why My Side has resonated with gamers in the way many AAA titles have failed to do. Innovation over tradition. While AAA games often stick to established formulas, My Side dares to experiment with new gameplay mechanics and storytelling techniques. Player-centric focus. Without the pressure of satisfying shareholders, indie developers, like those behind My Side, can focus on creating a game that truly resonates with their audience. Affordability. At a fraction of the cost of most AAA titles, My Side offers an accessible entry point for gamers, especially during a time when many are scrutinizing their spending, and word-of-mouth marketing. The game's success has been driven largely by player recommendations and viral buzz, proving that you don't need a Hollywood-level budget to get noticed. What does this mean for AAA developers? The gaming industry is at a crossroads. As indie successes like My Side continue to capture headlines, AAA developers need to reassess their approach. Simply throwing more money at a project doesn't guarantee success. Gamers are hungry for innovation, meaningful experiences, and above all, games that respect their time and money. I think this is one of the developers of My Side beating their chest. Grumps, I think he used to be at Blizzard. He's been a big voice in the video game space, criticizing the whole woke, far left direction of game titles and the corruption in the industry. Grumps says, Tiny indie My Side is beating Concord and Dragon Age Veilguard, has two developers, and shows that AAA pundits are wrong. It's not a downturn in the market. It's a failure to give the market what it wants. Indies are killing it. AA is killing it. We've seen so many great examples. My Side is a wake-up call for the industry. It's more proof that players care more about equality and originality than fancy graphics and bloated budgets. While AAA publishers are busy chasing trends and padding out games with microtransactions, indie developers are quietly stealing the spotlight. That's not to say AAA games are doomed. Titles like Baldur's Gate 3 have shown that big budget games can still thrive when they prioritize player experience over corporate profits. But if 2023 has taught us if 2024 has taught us anything, it's that the gaming community's patience for cookie-cutter blockbusters is wearing thin. People's patience with Ubisoft is running thin. This is from That Park Place. Ubisoft value tanks. Market cap drops 85% from 2021 to 2025. This is from January 1st. This is by M. Montanero on That Park Place. Once a titan in the gaming industry, Ubisoft has experienced a dramatic and concerning decline in value over the past 4 years. From a market capitalization of $12.17 billion in January 2021, the company's value plummeted to a mere $1.78 billion by January 2025. So this is the protagonist of Star Wars Outlaws, a licensed Star Wars game by Ubisoft. This represents an alarming loss of approximately 85% of its market value, underscoring severe financial turmoil and strategic missteps that have left the Assassin's Creed developer struggling to maintain its foothold in a highly competitive industry. And there's talk that Chinese companies like Tencent are going to buy up Ubisoft. They're going to buy up all the shares at low cost. Sounds a lot like all the real estate in LA, North Carolina, Maui, what have you. Isn't this the plot to RoboCop? I've never seen the movie all the way through, but I've read the summaries. I mentioned this. AAA video games struggle to keep up with skyrocketing costs of realistic graphics. Meanwhile, gamers' preferences are evolving towards titles with robust social features. This is from TechSpot. Game studios face increasingly difficult decisions as they grapple with the escalating costs of creating cutting-edge visuals and the diminishing returns these visuals often provide. The challenge lies in striking a balance between visual spectacle, engaging gameplay, and sustainable development practices. I'll get to the main point. Art style trumps polygon count any day of the week. Art style always trumps polygon count. You got these detailed graphics. This is supposed to be in-game. Sorry there, we had a hiccup. As I was saying, this image from, looks like it's Sony's Spider-Man 2 game. This is supposed to be in-game. These are supposed to be like super realistic graphics. And these are very expensive to produce. They're very, they tax the hardware. It costs a lot of developers and work hours. Marvel Spider-Man 2, released in 2023, is one example. Leveraging the PlayStation 5's processing power, developers at Insomniac Games crafted a visually stunning New York City. Peter Parker's iconic suits were rendered with intricate textures, while skyscrapers reflected sunlight with remarkable accuracy. This level of detail, however, came at a steep price. The game's development reportedly cost around $300 million, more than triple the budget of its predecessor from just 5 years earlier. Inflation surely doesn't help. Another example of the industry's technical prowess can be seen in a particularly noteworthy scene in The Last of Us Part 2, when the protagonist Ellie removes her shirt, revealing bruises and scrapes on her back. This moment unfolds without any graphical glitches, demonstrating the painstaking attention to detail that has become a hallmark of high-budget game development. While these visuals are impressive, there is questions about the sustainability of such investments. Despite Spider-Man 2's commercial success, with over 11 million copies sold, Sony announced 900 layoffs in February 2024, which affected the game's developers at Insomniac. In short, financial returns on these investments are diminishing. At the same time, audience preferences are shifting as well. Jacob Navik, a former executive at Square Enix, told the New York Times that high-fidelity visuals primarily appeal to a specific demographic of gamers in their 40s and 50s. Meanwhile, younger generations are gravitating toward games with simpler graphics but robust social features, such as Minecraft, Roblox, and Fortnite. For many young gamers, playing is an excuse for hanging out with other people, said Joost van Drunen, a market analyst and professor at New York University. This social aspect has become a driving force in gaming design and popularity. So, as development costs soar and player preferences evolve, some studios are exploring alternative approaches. The live service model, which prioritizes regular content updates over graphical fidelity, has gained traction. Games like Genshin Impact have found tremendous success, generating billions of revenue, primarily through mobile platforms. Genshin Impact, I've watched videos of that. It's more of a anime style game than something that's super realistic. It's got a very appealing art style. This model has risks. High-profile failures like the Warner Bros. Discovery Suicide Squad killed the Justice League and Sony's short-lived Concord demonstrate the challenges of entering this competitive live service market. Players are also fed up with the live service and all the microtransactions because I'm old enough to remember when you bought a game at launch or from the store, you bought the cartridge or the disc, And that was a complete game. That was you only paid once. You don't have to pay like multiple times for the subscription or for the DLC or the items, the in-game items you need to get a competitive edge. Games are complete back then. And I think a lot of older gamers like myself are telling the younger generation, hey, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be so expensive. We'll get to this here. From PC Gamer, nearly 19,000 games released on Steam in 2024. You probably didn't play most of them. So, Steam is the primary online marketplace for PC games. You know, the consoles, which are Nintendo Switch, whatever Nintendo comes out with, the PlayStation and the Xbox, they have their own proprietary licensing plans and console exclusives. Xbox is weird. I think they're getting away from actually making consoles to becoming a marketplace like Steam is. But Steam is the industry leader. And what Steam does, they're run by the company Valve. We're going to talk about Valve in the next article, but Valve has been a very, pro gamer, anti-woke, pro free speech platform for games. Lots of indie games come out on Steam. It's become a real paradise for indie games. So has the Nintendo Switch. So that's reflected in 19,000 games released on Steam in 2024. PC is really, really encroaching on the console market. I think only Nintendo is going to be viable in the next, console generation. I honestly believe that. Now, what's interesting about Valve is Valve makes more money per employee than Amazon, Microsoft, and Netflix combined. A small but mighty team of 400. Now, Valve is a private company. It's privately owned. It's not publicly traded. We saw an evil version of a privately owned company with the Resniks, their wonderful brand, who were clogging up all the water in California. This is the plus side of being privately owned. You don't have to make line go up every quarter. You don't have to you don't have to generate shareholder value. You can just focus on making your company sustainable, and that's a good deal for the employees. Valve is one of the most important and influential companies in the PC gaming market. It's the most important company in the PC gaming market. It's also one of the most unique due to its private nature and unusually small workforce relative to its impact and competitors. A recent analysis of data uncovered through an ongoing lawsuit against the company highlights how Valve starkly contrasts with the world's biggest tech giants. A Valve employee recently provided PC Gamer with a rough calculation of the company's per employee income, revealing that Valve generates more money per person than several of the world's largest companies. While the data is a few years old and doesn't account for some significant recent trends in the tech sector, Valve's ranking in this metric likely hasn't shifted much over that time. Exact figures for Valve's per hour and per employee net income remain redacted. However, a chart from 2018 confirms that Valve's per employee income exceeded that of Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Alphabet, Google, Microsoft, Intel, and Amazon. So, even though Valve isn't publicly traded, it's not under pressure to make profits and increase shareholder value. It's still wildly profitable. So, I think you can also carry that over to like why Arizona Iced Tea is able to fight inflation. If you're big into the Second Amendment and the gun, space, Palmetto State Armory is privately owned, and they're making great products at very affordable prices because they're privately owned. They don't have to deal with shareholders or big money institutions like BlackRock. One of the few Sony PlayStation successes in the last couple of years is Helldivers 2. Coming back to that Park Place, Helldivers 2 director slams DEI in gaming. Make good games, not political statements. Now, one of the big issues with AAA gaming has been woke DEI practices. We talk about political, interference in your favorite companies or your employer. In a move that has ignited conversations across the gaming industry, Johan Pillestedt, the creative director behind Helldivers 2, has taken a firm stance against incorporating diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives into games when they detract from the player experience. His comments come amidst a broader industry debate over the role of social and political themes in game development, and also in other entertainment like Hollywood, movies, TV, comics. Pillestedt says, if it doesn't add to the game experience, it detracts, and games should be a pure pursuit of amazing moments. Responding to a fan suggestion that X never add DEI to your games, Pillestedt candidly replied, if it doesn't add to your game experience, it detracts, and games should be a pure pursuit of amazing moments. Pillestedt's philosophy centers on prioritizing player immersion and enjoyment over adherence to external political or social narratives. When questioned about the potential benefits of DEI in Helldivers 2, he expanded on this perspective. I don't like labels, he said, but mankind is united in its extreme xenophobia on Super Earth. Inclusion? So maybe that's DEI? I really don't care. Make good games, don't make contemporary political statement. These remarks have drawn both praise and criticism, with some gamers applauding his focus on quality gameplay, while others argue for the importance of representation in modern media. The Helldivers franchise, known for its satirical depiction of intergalactic warfare and humanity's unrelenting expansionism, is inherently political, though Pillestedt's comments suggest he believes such themes should serve the narrative rather than contemporary agendas. Industry veteran Mark Kern, aka Grums, who previously led the World of Warcraft team, weighed in on Pillestedt's comments. He pointed out that the gaming community's resistance to overly political content in games is gaining traction. Before, this never would have been discussed. It would be ignored and buried. The fact that legacy media is picking up on this means that the oversight window has shifted, Grump said on X. He went further, praising the gaming community for pushing back against what he calls political propaganda in games. Well, wrong political propaganda. We will continue to push political propaganda that ruins games, he said. We will continue to be heard. Skipping down to the end of the article here, Pillestedt's comments reflect on a growing sentiment among developers and players who feel that video games should prioritize entertainment and creative storytelling over external messaging. Proponents of this approach argue that shoehorning political or social themes into games often undermines the artistic vision and alienates players who seek escapism. For many, the debate isn't just about DEI, but about the core purpose of video games, whether they should serve as platforms for political discourse or as immersive escapes from reality. Do you agree with Pillestedt's stance on DEI Helldivers 2? Okay. Just kind of asking for interaction there at the end of the article. But, yeah, that's a good point. Before DEI, characters were appealing to look at, gameplay was fun, and AAA wasn't so corrupt, so bloated. An example of this is a game from about 9 years ago. From 9 years ago. Made by a once great developer. And that's Nier Automata. This is from Niche Gamer. Nier Automata tops 9 million copies shipped and sold. Publisher Square Enix and developer Platinum Games have announced Nier Automata topped 9 million copies shipped and sold. While it was released back in 2017, the action RPG keeps selling well. Its previous milestone was 8 million copies back in February 2024. Nier Automata has been available on Windows PC, Xbox One, Switch, and PlayStation 4. If you ever go on Instagram or on TikTok and you look up, female nerd cosplayers who like to dress up as their favorite game characters, so many of them dress up as 2B. This gal, she's the protagonist of Nier Automata. She's actually nice to look at. She's not some weird, non-binary homunculus. 2B is an android, so she has abilities that regular women don't have. She's, so she can actually fight, hulking mechanical enemies. But she's a fan favorite among lots of game fans and pop culture fans. And it's just a very good story. It's set in the distant future when robots invade Earth and humans are in exile on the moon, and humans send their own robots, including 2B and her companions, to fight back and reclaim the Earth. It's not overly political. It does have some sci-fi, philosophical moments to it, but it's just an all-around good game, created in a time when good games meant something. Made at a time when Square Enix wasn't gone off the rails so bad. So we're almost gonna wrap it up here. We're at 3 hours and 12 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead. You stuck with me here. Again, if you want to support the program, I got all these referral links to you. You can all on gifts and fire and hurricane victims you can, and anyone else who is in need. I'm going to start my own Gifts and Go again to help generate income for my project here. But you can also go to locals, become a subscriber, become a member of my community. I want to end with this tweet here. So Jimmy Carter's funeral is going on. He's laying in state. People say, oh, he was such a great humanitarian when he was a fraud. Habitat for Humanity was just a scam. But we're going to talk about Trump and all of his talk about acquiring Canada and Greenland and the Gulf and the Panama Canal and the Gulf of Mexico. This is from Brian Cates. He says, put your thinking cap on. What is Trump forcing the slowly surface with his Greenland, Canada, and Panama Canal talk? What's he making the international crime syndicate do? What's been going on the scenes for 100 plus years, carefully hidden from sight, plausibly denied at every turn when even a hint of it arose? Why does the Canadian Prime Minister swear allegiance to the British Crown as part of the oath of office? What is NATO? I don't mean we've been told it is. I mean, what is NATO really? Whatever you want to call it, the blob, the machine, the deep state, whatever, where do you think its actual long-term headquarters is? Washington, D.C.? Tel Aviv? Paris? Berlin? Hell no. Those are subsidiaries. Think London. Next, the Vatican. What is being shown to you here, when Queen Elizabeth meekly invited Donald J. Trump to walk in front of her during the ceremonial review, what was being shown to you here, when Pope Francis meekly posed with the Trump family? All kinds of shit has been going on behind the scenes, both during the first Trump term and the 4 years of Biden, and now Trump gets ready to step back openly into the White House for a second public term. You're going to see people bending the knee and kissing the ring and begging for mercy at long last. After 9 plus years of trying to utterly destroy this man, they're finally accepting the brutal truth. Nothing can stop what is coming. I really mean that. I'll say it again. Nothing can stop what is coming. If they could stop it, they would have stopped it by now. Am I getting through to those of you in the back of the room? See this video. Queen Elizabeth clearly tells Trump to break tradition and walk in front of her. Germany joins France and warns U.S. President-elect Trump against threats of taking control of Greenland from NATO ally Denmark. So, yeah, Greenland is a Denmark territory. And since Trump has been talking about Greenland, the Prime Minister of Greenland has been saying, hey, we want to be independent from Denmark. So a lot of this is not necessarily conquering these territories for the U.S., but liberating them from the real conquerors, from the real empire, the secret empire that's been, controlling the world. I mean, I think even the British Crown is just one spoke in the wheel. You might have heard talk about the 13 families or the a lot of people talk about the Jewish, the Jewish cabal. I said I think the Jewish crime syndicate is just like any other crime syndicate, like the mafia or the yakuza. Don't blame all Jews for the crimes of the Jewish crime syndicate. That'd be like blaming all Italians for the crimes of the mafia. I like to talk about the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the Jesuits, whatever you call this blob. We don't know who the real mastermind at the tip of the top is. We're still in the exposure phase. But I think exposures and action and real action against the corruption in this world is going to take place over the next term. The gloves are off. People are going to be able to actually do something lawfully against the people who have been making our lives hell. So, with that, I'm going to let you go. Again, if you find this content valuable, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll let you go. This is Nate Houseman letting you know, more than ever, it's okay to stand up for yourself. Over and out.